Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, January 14th, and it is 6:31 p.m. What's that?
It's at 14.
What did I say?
14th. It's at
14th. What did I say?
It's the 10th.
Oh, it says it is the 10th. Hi, everybody. Welcome to me, too. So we have a new procedure for public comment tonight. I wanted to let everybody know this is a procedure we've used in the past when there's a lot of public comment and we want to organize it. So in order to participate in public comment for items not on the agenda tonight, we will need those wishing to speak to fill out a speaker card. You can find those over on this table. The agendas are also on the table on the wall to your right. Please return the card and to the basket with the deputy clerk over here. The basket is actually a plastic bin. Let's see. For those online, please raise your virtual hand to indicate your desire to speak on public comment for items not on the agenda. The deputy city clerk will randomly pull from speaker cards when I open the public comment period. Public comment is for items not on the agenda. It comes right after our one proclamation for this evening, so please come out, fill out a speaker card if you have not already, and then I'll re-mention it when we get to that point if there are new folks that have joined us. So next, we are going to do the Nisenan tribal recognition. Councilmember Klein is going to read that, but before he does, just a note about our land acknowledgement. This land acknowledgement was adopted in collaboration with the original peoples of this land, the Nisenan. We take the time and attention to mark each meeting with a base level gesture of acknowledgement of the original land stewards because atrocities like genocide happened on this very land in which we live and work and play, as they did on lands all across the continent and nearly every corner of this world. And some of those atrocities continue to take place around the world today, unfortunately. We do not, by practice, take time to, or attention to acknowledge the Washoe to the east or the Miwok to the south, not because we don't care, but rather this body represents this place and this land. And we are committed to this place and supporting the Nevada City Rancheria in regaining their sovereignty and federal recognition. Adam, please.
We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
Thank you, Adam. And Councilmember Cece, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Cece. Now we're going to do a roll call. Madam Deputy City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cece?
Here.
Councilmember Klein?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming?
Here.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Here.
Mayor Fernandez?
Here.
All present?
All right, next we have the adoption of the agenda. Council, now is the time for any agenda modifications. Would you like to make any changes to the agenda, pull consent items, or do we have any recusals to announce? All right, I'm hearing none, so I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
I so move.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Cece and a second by Councilmember Fleming. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. So next we have a presentation, a proclamation for Martin Luther King Jr. Federal Holiday, which is coming up next Monday. I'm going to read from here. This is honoring Martin Luther King Jr. Day, January 15th, 2024. The proclamation reads, whereas the civil rights movement in the 1960s profoundly impacted the course of American history and continues to shape the direction and debate of our society. And whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, a civil rights leader, devoted his life to the nonviolent advancement of civil rights and public service, And whereas Dr. King believed in a nation of freedom and justice for all and challenged all community members to help build a more perfect union and live up to the purpose and potential of the United States of America. And whereas Dr. King's dream is no less inspirational and important today than when he first expressed it more than 60 years ago. And whereas Dr. King experienced a significantly different civil rights reality in his lifetime than exists today, in fact, the respect and honor provided to Dr. King in modern America is a far cry from the 1966 Gallup poll that reported nearly twice as many Americans had a negative view of King as opposed to a positive one. Whereas by 1999, the same Gallup poll found that King ranked behind only Mother Teresa as the century's most admired person. And whereas even with the progress achieved during the civil rights movement in subsequent decades, inequities, injustices, racism, and other forms of discrimination and oppression are still prevalent in our society. And whereas Dr. King's life was struck down by a bullet of bigotry on April 4th, 1968, but his dream of pursuing a world free from prejudice and injustice lives on. And whereas we honor and celebrated Dr. King's memory, and importantly, we also preserve his legacy and call upon all of us to stand up against injustice and protect our most sacred tenets of democracy. And whereas Dr. King always led by example and provided a framework for how each of us can shape the future by calling out injustice and continuing to work towards a more equitable society. Now, therefore, the City of Nevada City and the Council of Nevada City hereby proclaim January 15th, 2024 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And we urge all of our community members to take this opportunity to reflect upon Dr. King's vision and to join in rededicating ourselves to continuing to advance the principles of justice and equity for all. All right. So we're going to move on to public comment. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar in each agenda item at the time it is heard. As I stated before, when we open the meeting, in order to participate in public comment tonight for items not on the agenda, we will need those wishing to speak to fill out a speaker card, and those again are available at the table over here along the wall to your right. Please return that card to the plastic bin over here that the deputy clerk has placed on the table. For those online, please raise your virtual hand and indicate your desire to speak on public comment for items not on the agenda. The deputy city clerk will randomly pull from the speaker cards when I open the public comment period and invite groups of 4 to the podium or bring the person in on Zoom for those participating virtually. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and we will keep to that time. There's a little timer up here that you guys can keep an eye on. The total time for public comment for items not on the agenda will be 1.5 hours tonight, and we will continue to pull names from the speaker slips until everyone has spoken or the 90 minutes is up, whichever comes first. As a reminder, last time we were here, things were a little tense. And that's to be expected. There's a lot of tension in the world right now. However, we do have rules in this space. There still is some semblance of democracy in this space. And while you're here, I'm going to ask that you adhere to those rules. And part of those rules are that disrupted behavior, speaking while other people are speaking, any threats of violence or actual violence, of course, will not be tolerated. We're going to ask that you keep clapping, commenting, or making noise during or between others' times to speak. We're going to ask that you not do that. And for those that have been called to the podium, You can line up, obviously, in that center aisle. We're going to ask that flags or any displays stay to the back, that they not block the aisle or anyone that is speaking. Please keep those in the rear of the room. The sharing of time is not permitted of passing time to another person. Please take your 3 minutes or less if you deem that appropriate. And Madam Deputy Clerk, can you call the first 4 names, please?
And Olivia Steele.
Actually, hold on just a second. How many of you here to talk about agendizing a resolution? Okay. How many of you might be here for a different reason about an item that is not on the agenda? Great. I'm going to invite you to come up first and share your public comment, and then we'll dig into everything, and we'll start the hour and a half once we start pulling those names. Uh-oh. You better do it. It's okay. You can come up.
Good evening. My name is Ralph Remick. I reside here in Nevada County. Hamas began its brutal attack against Israel on October 7th.
Hey, Ralph, just a second. I'm so sorry. I'm going to ask you to continue to fill out the card. You are here for the same reason other people are here, so we're gonna put you in the group, okay?
Okay, I misunderstood.
That's
Thank
quite
you.
all right. Okay. All right, and then we'll collect cards for like the next couple minutes, and then we're gonna close that option down, okay? So if you do want to speak, go ahead and get your name in there. And then, of course, if your name is pulled and you change your mind, that's always an option too. All right, Madam Deputy Clerk, 4, please.
The first one is Olivia Steele. So the 4 of you are going to line up. Mikos Fabersoni, Jeffrey Gottesman, and looks like Layla, Laila.
Great, and if you guys will just be patient with us, this is a new we haven't done this in a while, so. And Madam Deputy Clerk, I will ask that if at any point tonight there is interruption and I intervene, if you could please stop the timer,
Okay.
just so that we make sure that people can get their time.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you. Let's go.
Hello, Council. My name is Olivia, and I've lived here for over 20 years in this community. It probably goes without saying that what's happening in Palestine is unimaginable. It's especially difficult to imagine the scale of this violence, let alone how it can be met with complacency, silence, and outright support. Over 21,000 people killed on a strip of land 25 miles long. You could drive through Gaza end to end faster than you could drive to the Auburn Home Depot from where we are right now. A strip of land only a few miles wider than that section of Highway 49 was home to 2 million people, nearly half of them children. By October 29th, Gaza had been bombed 6,000 times in a week, what is called one of the heaviest conventional bombing campaigns in the history of modern warfare. There are more Palestinian people killed in bombings than the combination of Nevada City and Grass Valley's entire populations combined. No, you shouldn't need that perspective to understand the severity of this, but maybe it will open your eyes. A landscape and its indigenous stewards violently attacked in the same blow. South Africa quotes in the recent ICJ document, Gaza is now a different color from space. It has a different texture. I urge you not to forget that this is also an ecocide and a crime beyond words of desecrating the sacred relationship between a people and their land. My heart breaks for Palestinians all over the planet who are watching this happen to their homeland. I think of the non-human life, which is also experiencing a mass murder. I think of the olive trees. I think of the poppy seeds that may only survive sewn into jacket hems or in the fur or hooves of animals should any in Gaza survive. I think of the multi-generational homes and lineages erased. I think of stories, songs, artwork, and the spirit of Gaza that can only possibly be saved by ending this genocide. I cannot continue to watch live streams of Palestinian ancestral homelands be turned into concentration camps the size of Lake Tahoe and then bombed thousands of times. I drive down Broad Street and I imagine 2,000-pound bombs falling and making confetti of the pine trees. Maybe this is what it would take for this council to realize that this issue directly affects our trajectory as a community. I hear people asking for comfortable silence, for safe ignorance, and I want to be clear that there is nothing more dangerous, no community less secure than one that prioritizes comfortable silence over the safety of any person. We must address the issues of anti-Semitism within our community and detangle it from the desperate reasoning of those immersed in Zionist conditioning so that we can also answer the global call for Palestinian liberation. San Francisco just passed the resolution for ceasefire after 30,000 people marched and protested for weeks, and we will not stop coming here to demand the same, along with the transparency and public-facing business which we are supposed to be promised by our local government. I am echoing local pleas and national demands for ceasefire in Gaza and withholding of any funding further for America's colonial passion project, Israel. I'm further calling out for the end of Israel's aggressive occupation in Palestine. And finally, I'm calling for this council to lead Nevada City out of its shameful history rooted in genocide against the people of Turtle Island and into
Thank you,
a future
Olivia.
of solidarity with Indigenous people across our beloved planet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I begin, I wanted to mention that Jeffrey Gottesman, who is scheduled to talk, I guess, behind me, asked me to submit his name as he would be late for this meeting, so perhaps you
because-
can still allow him to speak when he does get here. Could you restart the clock, please, for me?
No.
Go ahead.
My name is Mikos Fabersoon. I spoke at the last council meeting and here again to ask the council to support an immediate ceasefire on Gaza and exercise our collective responsibility to protect. I note that the meeting started with a dedication to Martin Luther King and the call to honor his work for justice, and that's precisely why I'm here tonight, as well as many others. Given the massive destruction, death, and threats by Israeli officials over the last 3 months to exterminate the Gazans, we should recognize by now that Hamas is just the pretense and the excuse for these horrors, while the civilian population of Gazans in Palestine are the real targets. Statements of intent by Israel's government ministers and actions by the Israeli military after October 7th together constitute genocide. Evidence of this fact submitted recently by the State of South Africa to the International Court of Justice in its filing against the State of Israel is unequivocal. Yet most Americans are ignorant of the history and Zionism's precursors of the conflict over the last 130 years, including the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians by Jewish militias in 1948, by the Israeli military in 1967, through the violence and land theft by Zionist settlers in the West Bank, and the denial of rights of Palestinians ever since, all of which has required a belligerent occupation by Israel's military, keeping their boots firmly in place on the necks of the Palestinian people. Sadly, the mainstream media has done little to fill the void, serving instead as an echo chamber for Zionist lobby organizations like AIPAC and Christians United for Israel, who buy off their minions in Congress to continue the massive flow of dollars to Israel. Now, in its third month, the genocidal acts continue, and the U.S. sends even more munitions to Israel. The result? With our tax dollars, all of us in the U.S. have become effectively complicit in this genocide. Many of us in this room have spoken before you, pleading that the Council adopt a resolution calling for a ceasefire. Yet we have heard no response from Council members. You could simply place the issue on the Council's agenda where we could have a dialogue and you would have the opportunity to reveal your own opinions about the passage of a Council resolution or the obstacles that have prevented you from doing so. Perhaps we might learn the logic of your silence. Or you could call a town meeting to seek the input of other citizens in our community. Or fill the knowledge void by sponsoring a workshop on the history and the origins of the conflict. We would be glad to assist you with that. Or you could appoint a commission to develop a response for your consideration and options to assist you, options for your collective action. Whatever you do, and I'm taking off the list doing nothing, please do it quickly. Thank you.
Thanks, Mikos.
Hi, my name is Layla. I am a psychotherapist, harm reduction advocate, and mother to a beautiful 3-year-old who is home with his dear father, safe and sound, getting ready for bed. I stand before you to speak up for the Palestinian families who cannot say the same today and ask you to put the discussion of a resolution for a ceasefire on the agenda, follow in the suit of the many cities, including now San Francisco and Denver, who have done so. In my almost daily tears, I've been thinking a lot about grief. Can my heart be big enough to hold and witness all of these layers? Those under occupation and bombardment, those in fear of and gripping for control as they occupy a land and oppress its people. Those of us complicit who feel powerless to stop these atrocities. Collectively, many of us are turning away from this grief under the pretense that the dynamics at play in Palestine are too complicated. There's much that is complicated. Intergenerational trauma, the psychology of occupation on stolen land, a government capitalizing on trauma and fear of its people to inflict genocide on others, the psychology and spirituality of being perpetually imprisoned and attacked over 75 years of occupation. It's complicated negotiating my own experience as a descendant of white settlers on stolen native land built on the bodies of stolen Black people hundreds of years after the fact, trying to understand why we humans with our brilliant minds and loving hearts still haven't outgrown this behavior. Complicated. Do you know what is in no way complicated? The fact that genocide is never excusable or justified, that it is illegal under domestic and international law, and our country is failing us here. That genocide's criteria is intent to destroy a particular group of people and actions that back it up, of which we have seen 4 out of 5, at least. Killing, bodily and mental harm, inflicting conditions of life that bring about the group's destruction, and imposing measures that prevent birth. What is not complicated is the immorality of killing upwards of 10,000 children or more in 3 months, families, 10 children a day losing limbs and having surgery without anesthesia, targeting entire families of journalists who are reporting from the ground. What is not complicated is that the U.S. is aiding and abetting the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza against the will of most Americans. In a recent interview, Palestinian journalist Motaz said, "Don't call yourself a free person if you can't make changes, if you can't stop a genocide that is still ongoing." Israel's actions have implications for all of us, now and in the future. Will your grandchildren and their grandchildren forgive you for your silence? Do the right thing. Adopt a resolution for immediate ceasefire, call to stop funding the genocide, denounce genocide, condemn anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate, establish a no-fly zone, allow humanitarian aid to reach the injured and starving, and support South Africa's ICJ case against Israel. Thank you.
Gabby, did you put Jeffrey back in?
Yes.
Okay. So typical protocol, we ask that when you come up, if you could please say your name and let us know where you live.
Okay, the next 4 are Yasmin Baya, Kiana Craft, Alice Young, and Libby Woods. Please line up at the podium.
Yasmin Baya. Nevada City has a profound opportunity for moral reckoning before it. As a majority white rural town built upon the brutal genocide of indigenous peoples in a nation that amassed untold wealth by the barbaric enslavement of millions of Africans, systematically and legally dehumanizing them and stealing their labor for centuries. We must grapple with this horrific legacy now. The white supremacy underpinning violent marginalization of Black, brown, and indigenous communities in America, from slavery to police brutality targeting people of color today, also drives the oppression and dehumanization of Palestinians under occupation. By awakening to their interconnectedness and our collective complicity through inaction, we take the first steps toward meaningful dissent and moral reconciliation. City Council now has the opportunity to set that healing in motion by supporting a resolution affirming the human rights and dignity of Palestinians threatened by this ongoing colonial violence. True solidarity stretches beyond all borders to encircle the oppressed everywhere. I personally understand how individual abusers and oppressive regimes exploit the same psychological tactics? Deny, attack, reverse blame, claim victimhood, and demonize the oppressed. We actually all know the playbook here at this point. Israel's accusations serve only as confessions. Despite endless lies to obscure this genocide, we can see right through it. These are weak tactics, and I invite you to use your critical thinking skills. It's time to act, because let's be honest, if 23,000 murdered people in the last 95 days were white, this would be over. Imagine someone getting away with murdering 12,000 white children. Imagine if the 110 courageous journalists murdered were white. We know which lives actually matter. Once charred and shattered and torn into pieces, how much footage do we have to see of this for you to know that this is happening and the most documented genocide of our time? Show us you don't care just about white bodies here. As Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to injustice everywhere. This is your opportunity to do the right thing and be part of this movement. Become the smallest city council with the biggest heart. Put the ceasefire resolution on the agenda.
Thanks.
Hello, City Council and community members. My name is Kiana Craft. I have grown up and lived in Nevada City for over 20 years. I am here to ask that the ceasefire resolution be put on the next agenda. Our local action is pivotal to influence Congress to cease funding of the genocide and occupation in Palestine with our tax dollars. You may feel, as a city council member of a small town, that you do not have a role to play in this geopolitical issue. But I say that just because we are small does not mean that we cannot have impact. This is our chance to lead the way alongside other cities in California, like San Francisco, Oakland, and Richmond, as well as others across the US and the world. Our voice matters now more than ever. Every day we stall is another day we stand by while the people of Gaza are collectively punished through carpet bombing, displacement, starvation, and disease. This issue did not begin on October 7th. It's crucial to understand that Palestinian liberation and Jewish safety are not opposing causes, and I will use my voice, time, and energy to fight for both. If you still question where to stand on this issue, look no further than the words of some of the most famous and well-respected intellects and activists of our time. Nelson Mandela, Angela Davis, Malcolm X, Albert Einstein, Gandhi, who at different times have all criticized the state of Israel and treatment of the Palestinian people. I've seen this community make strides towards inclusivity. As a queer woman myself, seeing the presence of pride flags in the month of June has given me immense hope for our future. And growing up here, representation and acceptance often felt invisible and impossible. Although pushback is inevitable with each step we take towards inclusivity, we, as a majority white community residing in an occupied land ourselves, have the opportunity to make a resounding statement to the world that we will not be complicit in the face of systematic oppression. For in what world is killing this many civilians considered justice? History is being made. Future generations will look back at this moment and ask what we did. When in doubt, look at the Black and Indigenous people who have been using their voices to speak against oppression since the founding of this country. Let us not fall on the wrong side of history. The challenges faced by marginalized people are intertwined. As Angela Davis said, Palestine is the moral litmus test of the world. We peacefully ask again that this council put the ceasefire resolution on the agenda for your next meeting, and we will continue to do so until it is done. Our actions here could inspire other councils around the country to do the same, applying the most pressure possible to our congressional representatives. Let us show the people of Gaza that their cries for help have not been ignored. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alice, and I'm a resident of Nevada County. I come here today requesting for the third time that you add a resolution in solidarity with Palestine, calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and an end to U.S. military aid to Israel. Meanwhile, South Africa has gone to the International Court of Justice, the highest UN legal body, charging that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. that Israel has violated the 1948 Genocidal Convention drawn up in the aftermath of World War II and the Holocaust. Tomorrow and Friday, the court will hear arguments from both sides, but here we haven't even added the request to the agenda. What is stopping you? The filing from South Africa is 84 pages long. It lists Israel's failing to provide essential food, water, medicine, fuel, shelter, and other humanitarian assistance to the Gaza Strip. It also points to the sustained bombing campaign which has laid much of Gaza to waste and forced the evacuation of 1.9 million Palestinians and killed over 23,000 citizens. Every day, I watch horribly disturbing videos of Palestinian men, women, and children being pulled from the rubble, being shot in the street while waving white flags, being left to die in bombed-out hospitals. Every day, I watch Israeli militants commit genocide. And every day, I watch our government representatives deny it, placate the crowd, and continue sending our tax dollars to Israel to pay for weapons and bombs to further the genocide. I do not stand for this. You should not stand for this. This is not about being Jewish or Muslim or Christian or being against or for any of those religions. This is about protecting our humanity. The world is looking at Israel and demanding this stop. The UN is looking at Israel and demanding this stop. Humanitarian agencies around the world are looking at Israel and demanding that this stop. But the US continues to back them, continues to fund genocide. We will look back in history and we will be on the wrong side. So let us, this small but mighty county, at least consider the possibility that our voices can affect change, that we can join the rest of the world in this fight. I will finish with a quote from Palestinian journalists. Somebody already said this, but it's a really powerful one, so please hear me. Don't call yourself a free person if you can't make changes, if you can't stop a genocide that is still ongoing. That's from Motaz Azeza.
Thank you, Alice.
Good evening, Council. My name is Libby. I'm a 14-year resident of this county, and I'm a part of the Nevada County Coalition for Human Rights for Palestine. I'm calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire to end the occupation and call for humanitarian aid to be unobstructed. Every 4 minutes, someone in Gaza is murdered. I'm not going to go into a bunch of stats and figures, but by the end of my comment, a Palestinian, likely a child, will have died. A few nights ago, a 3-year-old child froze to death. And I'm up here because it's one of the only ways I know how to stay in integrity with myself. I'm here because I reject the hyper-normalization of genocide and racism. There's a genocide that's been broadcast 24/7 for the past 96 days, and I'm wondering, where is everyone? Why doesn't everyone get it? Oh yeah, this country, this state, this county, this city was founded on genocide and the attempted elimination of the native people. That's why this is possible. The State of Israel was founded as a settler colonial project in the likeness of the settler colonial project that is the United States. The similar colonial histories of both U.S. and Israel is not a coincidence. Ze'ev Jabotinsky is a Zionist revisionist leader, the founder of the Jewish Self-Defense Organization. In his essay, The Iron Wall, he clearly states the position of the Palestinians. Every native population in the world resists colonists as long as it has the slightest hope of being able to rid itself of the danger of being colonized. So Council, wherever there is occupation and colonization, there will be resistance. I'm not speaking for the Nishinan. I am just a person that lives here and donates to their reciprocity fund. But the fact that the Nishinan have a local presence, a gallery on Broad Street, organization working towards recognition, that is also resistance because they are still being colonized. That didn't just go away in the era of modernity. They deserve a lot more than a land acknowledgement. They deserve land back, in my opinion, but that's what we give them, a land acknowledgement. So if this council wants the land acknowledgement to be shared at the beginning of this meeting to have a shred of integrity, this council cannot continue to remain silent about the state-sanctioned genocide funded by this country and this county, $237,000 to be exact. I ask this council to put this resolution for an immediate and permanent ceasefire on the next agenda. And I just want to say that if you just put us on the agenda, you don't have to manage us and organize us. I also heard it shared that there's going to be some recreational democracy happening tonight. So if that's how you feel about the people who are here tonight, this isn't fun for us. It's not fun talking about genocide. It shouldn't be fun for you guys. So we will remember the words that were shared here tonight. Free Palestine.
Thanks, Libby. One more, Gabby?
Kayla Valencia. I'm not sure if it's Zadir or Zada. Elfie Manzares and Jesse Sabin. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Kala Valencia. Thank you for all here hearing my voice today. I'm a resident of Nevada County, and I've lived in this county for over 10 years. For nearly over half of that time, I've worked as an educator and an advocate for the underserved youth population in our country. We bring in kids from all over the world. I'm an Indigenous American of the Yoeme tribe, and I'm also Euro-American descent. As such, I have experienced firsthand the ongoing effects of genocide as it acts on families, individuals, and communities. I appreciate off script the land acknowledgement, but as you said, that is baseline. Calling for a ceasefire is also baseline. Prior to October 7th, 2023, approximately 65% of the people of Gaza were under 24 years old. That's over 10 years younger than I am as I stand before you today. I'm pretty young. Over 40% of the citizens of Gaza were under 14 years old. That's over 20 years my junior. These are children. These are individuals whose brains have not yet had the opportunity to reach full maturation. And due to ongoing bombardments, starvation, and blockades that have been placed on Gaza since 2007, these children, many of them will never have the opportunity to develop to full maturation. Children do not know how to defend themselves. This is not war. It's our duty as adults to defend the children of this world, even if it just means voicing our support. That's the least we can do. Over 22,000 people have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. My numbers are low. I chose the lowest numbers that I could find that everybody could agree to. Over 11,000 of the individuals are children under the age of 18. A 22-year-old Palestinian journalist, Plastia Al-Akwad, whose birthday took place on December 10th, shares, "I'm 22 years old today. That means I'm 4 aggressions and a war old. These children have never known safety. Many of their elders have been killed in a genocide that has been ongoing since 1948. This is the population that the Israeli government, funded by US tax dollars, has waged a brutal massacre against for over 90 days. We as a united nation of peoples must do all we can to put an end to this. I call on the council to put a support of a ceasefire, arms embargo, and humanitarian aid with unobstructed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Zale. I live in Nevada City, and the home of the brave. Too bad genocide isn't the word for happily ever after. And I stand with those amplifying the voices of the Palestinian people, calling for an immediate ceasefire, an end to U.S. support of this genocide, and our ongoing historic perpetuation of white supremacy and genocide, and to make a public decree of support for the Palestinian people. I strongly urge you to put this on the agenda. Our community is asking for it. The majority of this country is calling for it. The overwhelming majority of the world are calling for it. And the blood of the Palestinian martyrs cry out for it.
Thanks, Ale.
Hello, my name is Efstratia Mansuranis. I live in Grass Valley, and I'm here with the Nevada County Coalition for Human Rights in Palestine. Myself and many others here come in devotion to this cause and to urge you yet again to place our proposed ceasefire resolution on the next City Council agenda. The City of San Francisco is now celebrating the passing of a resolution calling for a sustained ceasefire in Gaza. I urge that those of you who stand before me do the same and join the millions that are demanding for an immediate ceasefire. I would like for the remainder of my time to ask you all to participate in this question. If you have a child here, or if there's a young person in your life that you love, please raise your hand. And take a moment to call them forward into your mind. Imagine that when we're done here, you are all going to go home to put these children to bed. Imagine that as they're starting to fall asleep, you're holding this child, and that you are touching the face of this child that you love, and you are running your fingers through your child's hair, and that you are counting the fingers of your child's perfect hands, and you can hear their laughter, and you can feel the presence of their joy and the innocence that they carry and bring into your life. See the miracle that is that child. And then with as much vision as you can muster, I want you to imagine that this child that you love is Palestinian, and that that child is experiencing the atrocities and the horror that we know is currently happening. And I ask you, knowing what you know, how would you act tonight? And how would this affect your decision? How would it be different in order for you to defend and save the life of this innocent child? This is the moment that you are being presented with. The ones that sit here before me that are failing this moment because you are prioritizing delusional, debunked, and disputable opinions that are rooted in Islamophobic Zionist propaganda, when instead you have the power to act in honor of what is moral and obvious. To those of you that are too afraid to stand in opposition of those who are pressuring you to stay quiet and stand back while children are being slaughtered and bombed into pieces by weapons that are funded by our tax dollars. You are choosing moral corruption and weakness while there are children living inside of a hell that you would never allow for if it were your own child. Do not be paralyzed by your shame or your guilt. That is far too easy. Instead, you need to take a good look in the mirror and be honest about all the ways in which you are perpetuating senseless murder through inaction. I'm asking for you to act in the urgent and defiant ways that you would if your child's life was on the line in the same way a child's life is right now. This is the third time that our collective has come here, and there are new voices here tonight. These are growing voices from people in our local community that came here to speak in response to your silence. We will not stop. We will show up every single time that you fail to step up and utilize the privileges that we have invested in you. You are being silent. Your silence is a weapon just as powerful as the bombs that are being dropped on defenseless children like your own in Palestine. Anyone against a ceasefire right now is pro-genocide and pro-funding the murder of children. You have a duty to listen to the voices of those here who voted you into the chairs that you sit in and placed our proposed ceasefire resolution on the next City Council agenda. The land acknowledgement and remarks on Martin Luther King are laughable, and I just want to acknowledge this woman right here who's being punished and targeted. She has nerve.
Hello, my name is Jesse Sabin. I don't live in Nevada city limits. I have worked here and lived here in the past, and I've performed music and theater here since I was a youth. And I am here for the first time to speak about this issue. And I assure you there are many more of us who have not been here yet, but we'll find the time and we'll be back unless you put this on the agenda and put it to a vote. And I don't know, maybe you can even abstain from that vote, but it's something to do. And we don't have many other things to do at our disposal.
We do.
Okay, you're not supposed to talk. It's something to do when we have very little else that we are legally allowed to do. We have no other leverage. We have to do something. And I must warn you, you are at the risk of being embarrassed by Grass Valley. You don't want them to beat you to this, do you? It's a possibility.
It's not a possibility, but...
And as much as I would love to do a citizen filibuster, there are much more well-prepared people here who are going to educate you if you can only please listen.
Thanks, Jessa. One more, Gabby.
Okay. We have David Brill, Salem Peterson, Jeff Ermshoff, and Jeffrey Gottsman.
Come on up.
Best greetings and respect for your time. I will skip the part where I get all emotional and descriptive about the details and reason of the foldings in the land of Israel. In San Francisco, that is brought as an example for you guys to follow, there are growing concerns through evidence of vandalism towards Jewish people, businesses, and unfortunately, we are not immune to that. The interesting thing is that this being conducted by some of the passionate speakers in this room tonight, including the Peace and Justice, led by Sir Jeffrey, and the well-spoken Lady Yasmin who apparently works with vulnerable groups of teenagers. I will begin my personal account and go on as time allows. So on December 24th, I was playing music outside of the Briar Patch, and Jasmine saw me, Yasmin Baya, who happened to be pretty triggered to see me. She shouted at me, "Zionist," and then a few other slogans to remind everybody else what she thinks and where she stands on this topic. And apparently that was not satisfactory enough for her, so she drove off and came back with a teenager, a megaphone, masks, and a sign, and stood right into my face, shouting that Zionists are not welcome here, they should not feel comfortable, and shouted that the co-op should be cleaned of Zionists. This is not about Israel or ceasefire. Had it been that you see here flags of Yemen, Syria, Libya, I would think differently. They would actually care about human beings. Congo, with millions and still counting. But that is not the case. This is about what is being told on social media, what is popular. I care about Palestinian people too. I really care about their freedoms, I care about their well-being, I care about LGBT communities and about women's rights, and that is not something that is going to be allowed by Hamas. Thankfully, as a deep believer in peace as a way of life, I did what Jesus would do, and I chose to sing a song invoking the angels of peace, inviting them to elevate, to help elevate rather than escalate. Had it been somebody else, I assure you, very different unfolding scenarios would become headline materials. Nonetheless, I must admit it moved me, especially watching the minor she brought along, repeating, shouting her words so sheepishly and passionately. These persons know nothing about me. They've never reached out to sit or talk. So let's call it what it is. This is pure racism. It's Jew hatred in the disguise of anti-Zionism, and that is what is being presented to you today. Ceasefire with no consideration of the hostages or Israeli refugees is not a possibility, not realistically. Upon leaving the last meeting, the so-called group of pro-Palestinians stood outside in a circle holding hands and singing, which I appreciated, and one of the women asked if I would like to join. I said I would, depending on what they're singing. She said freedom and peace. I said 100%, and I joined. Once I joined, some members of the group started shouting at me that I cannot be part of the circle.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think you got the point.
Good evening, Council. My name is Salem, and I'm a resident of Grass Valley. Tonight, actually, I'm going to read the words of Layla F. Said from Me and White Supremacy. Due to time, I'm going to leave it to you all to make the connection between white supremacy, this country, and the oppression and destruction and taking of Palestinian lives. I'm going to read from the chapter on white apathy. I'm asking all of you who identify as white to consider what resonates with you. I'm there with you. I'm definitely resonating with a lot of these. Practicing white silence, white exceptionalism, and inaction because of your attachment to the idea that you are, quote, a good white person. Using the excuse that because the process of dismantling white supremacy is so overwhelming, with many parts out of your individual control, there's no point in even trying because it will not make an impact big enough to matter anyway. Using perfectionism to avoid doing the work and fearing using your voice or showing up for anti-racist work until you know everything perfectly and can avoid being called out for making mistakes. Using your high sensitivity, high introversion, or mental health and personal issues to opt out of doing the work, ignoring the fact that there are BIPOC who are also highly sensitive, highly introverted, and have mental health and personal issues who cannot opt out of being at the receiving end of racism. There's so many, I'll read a few more. Using the excuses of laziness, tiredness, fear, boredom, numbness, or perfectionism, and other apathetic feelings and actions when it comes to engaging in this work. And she writes at the beginning of this, since I have more time than I thought I did, white apathy arises as a self-preservation response to protect yourself from having to face your complicity in the oppression that is white supremacy. But like white silence, white apathy is not neutral. It is easy to judge intentional and planned out actions of racism as the only manifestation of white supremacy. However, the intentional non-action of white apathy is just as dangerous as these intentional actions of racism. I'm asking this body to put on the next agenda an item calling for a ceasefire and an end to aid in Israel.
Thanks, Salem.
Hello, my name is Jeff Emshoff. I've been a resident for about 8 years in Nevada County. And I didn't prepare anything, but I just wanted to say that being against genocide and ceasefire is not a controversial issue. This should be a simple matter for you folks, and to open your meeting with an acknowledgement of genocide against indigenous people and not to take this up is shameful. And I don't know if you're required to do the Pledge of Allegiance, but you're pledging allegiance to a flag that is supporting all of this genocide. And if you don't have to do it, I support you not to do that too.
Thanks, Jeff. One more, Gabby?
Jessa Riego, Charlie D., Jelana Smith, and Alicia Manor. And Jessa Riego is online, but the other ones,
Come on up, folks.
Come on up. So, Jessa, go ahead and speak, address the council.
Jess, are you there online?
She needs to unmute herself.
Can you?
Oh, yes. Hi, this is Jessa. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Jessa, and I live in Folsom. I'm asking you to put a resolution for ceasefire on the agenda. I know that citizens of a town don't usually like out-of-towners commenting at their meetings, but I know that they like the tax revenue from tourism, and that's why I'm speaking at this meeting. I come to Nevada City a lot on my way to and from kayaking, hiking, and to visit my friends that live there. Normally this time of year, I would be coming through Nevada City on my way to and from the South Yuba River. It was my goal to get back on Edwards to Purdon this year. Normally, I'd be spending my money there on gas, snacks, and going out for celebratory drinks with friends, but not anymore, because I've been going out of my mind watching what's going on in Palestine. I saw a boy's head squished into a rectangle between the ceiling and floor of his apartment. I saw a baby's brain hanging out of her skull. I'm watching my community members endure the grave absurdity of paying taxes into the weapons that maim and kill their own families. Not only can I not kayak, I can barely eat, sleep, or work. And I know the atrocities are taking their toll on my friends who live in town too. Additionally, I find it pretty rich that the council opens with an acknowledgement of the Nisenan but hasn't put ceasefire on the agenda. It's almost as if white people can only act like we care years after we've already amassed all the land and wealth for ourselves. As more and more people learn the truth about what's actually going on in Palestine, the liberation movement is only growing bigger and stronger faster. Our kids and grandkids will learn the truth and ask us what we did to stop it. Be on the right side of history and put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Charlie, a resident of Grass Valley. Good evening. I'm here tonight to speak to council about the ongoing genocide in Palestine that is being financed and enabled by the United States. To be clear, just like everyone else, I'm here tonight to express my deep and utter disappointment with council for continuing to ignore what the vast majority of people in this room want, your constituents want, is to pass a resolution calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire. On a side note, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed your holidays. Welcome back to session. Here in Nevada City, we had a beautiful, cozy holiday season, lovely Christmas markets, warm fires, and a relatively mild winter. I can't help but think about how our Palestinian neighbors rang in the new year. We set off fireworks in celebration. They huddle in makeshift shelters, unable to escape the constant bombardment. We gather with our friends and family. In Gaza, people have little to no contact with theirs. Friends buried under rubble, bodies left to rot on streets. Cell phone service, when available, is just as likely as to bring heartbreak as it is to bring relief. It's also the season of eating. I know many of us find community around food. I was so lucky I got to make memories, baking cookies with my nephews, first time in years. I felt the guilt that thousands of children just like them will never get to be with their family. We had our first snow the other day. It was so beautiful, a little dusting that always makes town a little more magical. In Palestine, winter brings no such joy, only freezing temperatures that are now resulting in death. When they finally get rain, it brought floods. The relief of having drinking water is tempered by the lack of access to dry areas, the horrors of finding a place to sleep. I can keep going. We've all seen what's happening. We can sit here all night and try to illustrate the depth of destruction that is being done to Palestinians by the hands of the Zionistic colonizer state that is Israel, and being actively aided by the colonizer racist nation that is the United States. But I am not interested in convincing you of Palestinians' humanity. I have to hope that you're already aware of that. I have to hope that your lack of humanity, I have to hope that it isn't your lack of humanity that is deterring you from taking action, but rather a lack of courage. Well, we're gathered here tonight again, to help you find that courage. I urge you to bring this resolution to the agenda. It takes action on every level to turn the tide. We're seeing that happen across the country. We can do it here. I urge you to do it here.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, the next person is online. Go ahead, Jelana Smith, address the council. Jelana, can you unmute yourself? There you go.
Yes. Hello, my name is Jelena Smith, and I am commenting to urge you to pass a ceasefire resolution. At your last meeting, I brought you copies of some other cities' resolutions to review and use as a framework, and I urge you to, at the very least, add this issue as a discussion item to your next meeting and begin drafting your own resolution. I will use my remaining time to read something from you, or to you. This is written by Noor al-Din Hajjaj. This is why I'm writing now. It might be my last message that makes it out to the free world, flying with the doves of peace, to tell them that we love life, or at least what life we have managed to live. In Gaza, all paths before us are blocked, and instead we are just one tweet or breaking news story away from death. Anyway, I'll begin. My name is Noor al-Din Hajjaj. I am a Palestinian writer. I'm 27 years old, and I have many dreams. I am not a number, and I do not consent to my death being passing news. Say, too, that I love life, happiness, freedom, children's laughter, the sea, coffee, writing, Farouz, everything that is joyful, though these things will all disappear in the space of a moment. One of my dreams is for my books and my writings to travel the world, for my pen to have wings so that no unstamped passport or visa rejection can hold it back. Another dream of mine is to have a small family, to have a little son who looks like me, and to tell him a bedtime story as I rock him in my arms. He was killed in an Israeli airstrike on December 2nd. As long as this genocide continues, we will continue to come here and plead with you to listen and take a stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Jelena.
Get to the right spot here. Hello, my name is Alicia Manor. I have been a resident of Nevada County for over 20 years, and I support the local ceasefire resolution. Taking action at a local level is very important to correctly represent Nevada City as a community that demands an immediate ceasefire of the genocide happening in Gaza. I do not condone the over $3.8 billion in U.S. tax dollars that have been sent to Israel in this past year to fund weapons. As a psychology major studying to become a marriage and family therapist, I can hardly comprehend the amount of immediate and generational trauma that the Palestinian people are experiencing throughout the last several months and will continue to experience for generations to come. Palestinians' head of mental health services, Dr. Sama Jabir, says that said that what we here in the US call post-traumatic stress disorder, they don't really have that concept in Palestine because there is no post, because the trauma is repetitive and ongoing and continuous. The magnitude of this trauma is nearly inconceivable. As a white American, I recognize that privilege I was born into carries the responsibility to speak out against injustices. Remaining complacent or neutral in the face of clear oppression only serves to maintain systems of violence and marginalization. I understand that true justice requires those of us with a platform and resources to amplify the voices and struggles of those denied basic freedoms. South Africa has just recently issued a case of war crimes against Israel in the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of violating its obligations under the Convention of the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, both by committing genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza and by failing to prevent it, including by failing to hold senior Israeli officials and others accountable for their direct and public incitement to genocide. Israel needs to be held accountable for the unconscionable acts of mass genocide and blatant residential bombings. Over 23,000 Palestinians have been killed since this mass genocidal campaign began. Palestinian liberation and Jewish safety are not opposing causes.
Thank you, Alicia.
Okay, the next four, Matthew. Ralph Remick, Kevin Russo, and Stephanie Bellos.
Good evening. My name is Ralph Remick. I reside in Nevada County.
Hold on just a second, Ralph. Was there somebody before Ralph?
Matt was.
Oh,
Yeah,
was there?
We can please keep the order.
Sorry.
You were.
All I
That's
heard
all
was
right.
my
Please step back.
You're right after Matt right here.
Hello, my name is Matthew Margulies, and I'm a resident of over 25 years in Nevada County. I'm a videographer and horrified with the current genocide taking place in Palestine by Israel. As a resident, I request a ceasefire resolution be placed on the next council agenda for the following reasons. In the United States, we pride ourselves on guaranteed freedom of press. So as a media worker, I know that silencing a free press is a threat to all people's freedoms. I'm horrified that the Israeli military has now murdered an unprecedented number of Palestinian journalists and media workers in Gaza. As of January 8th, 79 journalists and media workers were confirmed dead, 72 Palestinian, 4 Israeli, and 3 Lebanese. This does not include all casualties, as there are still ongoing investigations by the Committee to Protect Journalists, so this number will tragically continue to grow. There have been multiple killings of journalist family members in Gaza. A sad example of Israel targeting the press and their family is Wael al-Dadu, who is a well-known Palestinian journalist for Al Jazeera. He has also lost his wife, a son, a daughter, an infant grandson in an Israeli airstrike in late October. On January 7th, 2024, just a couple of days ago, he lost his eldest son, Hamza. He was killed in an Israeli airstrike that left 2 journalists dead and wounded 2 other media workers. Hamza was working for Al Jazeera at the time of his death. Wael said after his son's death, "I wish that the blood of my son Hamza will be the last from journalists and the last from people here in Gaza, and for this massacre to stop." Hamza was covering the airstrikes hours before his death. Another journalist, Ayat Kahadura, said days before her death, "We had big dreams, but now our dreams is to be killed in one piece so they know who we are." The situation has gotten so dire that many journalists and media workers are no longer wearing their press vests to prevent targeting. Without a permanent ceasefire and end to violent occupation, Palestinian lives remain in constant direct danger. We are raising our voices to honor the dead and fight for the living, because attacks on journalism carries heavy dangers to us all. The Palestinian youth movement called for media workers to use their public platforms in video, print, audio, and social media to publish stories about Gaza, speak the truth, challenge misinformation, reject anti-Palestinian racism, and condemn the targeting and killing of Palestinian journalists and their families. As the death toll in Gaza mounts, we will continue to make noise. We must mourn the dead and learn from their stories. As a resident, I request a ceasefire resolution be placed on the next council agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Hey, Ralph, third time's a charm, huh?
My name is Ralph Remick. Hamas began its brutal attack against Israel on October 7th because the Hamas Charter calls for the total obliteration of Israel. Hamas has hijacked the Palestinian people, and I feel bad for what they are going through right now and suffering because of their leaders' actions. If Hamas really cared about the people, the terrorists would lay down their arms and surrender their leadership. This whole Gaza-Israel conflict could be ended tomorrow if Hamas would just quit and disarm. Most everyone quotes 1948 as the beginning of Israel's occupation. 1948 is a red herring used by the left. There is actual archaeological evidence confirming the people of Israel and Judea were living in the region prior to the Babylonian captivity in 586 BC. From 586 BC until 1948 AD, over 2,500 years, Jews have lived in the land. Those not dispersed, oppressed, or killed from the land were ruled by the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Islamic Empire, the Christian Crusaders, the Mamelukes, the Ottomans, and the British Empire. So the question is, who was colonizing and occupying whom? Just a month ago, a Harvard-Harris poll was conducted, this was in December, with registered voters. In the 18 to 24 age group, 66% of the respondents believed that the Hamas October attack was genocide, but 60% of them thought the attacks were justified. So genocide is okay with Jews and non-Jews if it's in the right context, I guess. In the same group, 60% favored an unconditional ceasefire, leaving Hamas in power with no disarmament and no peace treaty. And lastly, 67% believe that Jews are oppressors and should be treated as such. Pardon me, but these people are nitwits. The question for you tonight is, should you be creating geopolitical resolutions without general citizen input, discussion, and consensus? Is this what the voters elected you to do? If you're feeling pressured by passionate voices to do so, then you should also draft resolutions, similar resolutions for other countries like Ukraine, Syria, Sudan, Yemen, Ethiopia. But I would suggest you create a policy stating that your council will not be making any public statements or resolutions on international affairs that are out of your jurisdiction, period. Now, I agree with the signs that are held up, Free Palestine.
Thanks, Ralph.
Free Palestine from Hamas.
There's no comments from the audience.
My name is Kevin Russell. I've lived in Nevada County for 8 years. Just to comment on that, because my phone's about to die, this conversation does belong here at City Hall. Our federal government doesn't hear us as individuals, but we were given solace and hope when our local officials hear us. We're here because we know that it's like you can actually hear us and see us, and it feels like something might be happening, maybe, hopefully. We recognize it as reminiscent of the community that we've largely lost in this westward expansion experiment. Coming back to community is what we need, and this is why we're here. We're asking you to denounce genocide. We're asking you to take an active stance in the shaping of the future of this community and this country. We need to connect the links between the populace and the only voices that the government listens to. Mayors, governors, senators, congresspeople, presidents, CEOs of companies, the only people who seem to matter in our government, to our government, the 1%, the elite, the rich and famous. Is it that we'll only lift a finger to help if the blood that's being spilled is our own? I refuse to wait that long to scream that it's not okay to murder people, to continue the white supremacist agenda. If you aren't part of changing it, you're part of maintaining it as it is. I can't stand binary thinking, but this is really simple. Call for immediate ceasefire. thou shalt not kill. How is it that the defectors from religion and other non-adherents to Christian morals and other religious ideals can see so clearly that these tenets aren't actually being followed? If you think you aren't, if you think you're, We are here because we are the survivors of dominator culture. We all occupy territory once occupied by someone else who was dominated. We have the opportunity to do different than what got us here. I just want to know, what story do you want to maintain? By staying silent, you're allowing to fester the deep and putrid wound of white-led civil society. The story of domination, oppression, and oppression of people we consider less than or expendable is the way we want to continue to drive the earth-ending machine of capitalism. That was weird, but I think you get the point. I'm going to be done there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hello, this is my second time here, urging the council for a permanent ceasefire on the next agenda. I don't even know why we're here, still doing that. Anyways, okay, to the council, much respect to everyone here, but we feel sad and we feel angry. We feel angry, and it's a justifiable anger. No one here in this room is anti-Semitic. I'm tired of hearing it, frankly. Everyone here loves Jewish people, Muslim people, and Christian people. We all know that. We're all good with that. I'm tired of hearing it. It's an old bag now. It's old. I don't think that we can even use that as any kind of premise to not call for a ceasefire. I hope we can agree on that. Still, I feel that there is hope, and I feel a lot of us feel that there is love, that there is morality and the light of consciousness in this humanity, in this room, in this council. I'm not here to kiss anyone's anything. I'm here to tell you that this is imperative. There's no question. Why are we even debating right now that we need to stop this genocide? There is a case happening in the ICJ starting tomorrow. There's many countries and many people supporting this case. All of us are aware that there's a genocide happening. Hamas is not going to stop until illegal occupation stops. Hamas is not going to stop until the hatred of Palestinians stops. We're not just here for Palestinians. We're here for the freedom of all oppressed people. But by us standing up for Palestinians and actually saying something and using our courage and our moral compass and our heart, then it also sets a precedent for everything else that's going on in the world that is completely immoral. This feels absurd and archaic that we are here right now. Absurd and archaic. I can't even read all my notes. There are over now 31,000 people that have been killed. 31,000 is the new number as of today. Over 12,000 of those are children. What are we debating? Why are we still here questioning if we should call for a ceasefire? Put it on the next agenda? Cool. Great. But where is your moral compass? Where is the moral compass of this community? Thank you.
Can you let us know your name and where you live, please?
Stephanie Bellos in Nevada County. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
The next four. I can't read this. What is the first name?
You could spell it, Gabby.
Last name Elliott.
Last name is Elliott. Can't read the first name. Racy, Zayalai, and Yusuf Havez. Please come up to the podium.
Gotta reset that time.
Ian, resident mutual aid organizer in Nevada County. What's going on here? What is going on in this town, which prides itself on its progressive, inclusive values, pats itself on the back for acknowledging and supporting the indigenous people of this land, that after 2 months of mobilizing impassioned, educated, grief-stricken, exhausted community members to show up in this chamber and plead with you to stand up for basic human rights of an indigenous people whose occupation and ongoing genocide we as Americans are sustaining through our tax dollars. After all this, nothing? Sorry, not nothing. Last meeting, we all witnessed the attempted retaliatory silencing of constituents who queued to speak up for justice. We all witnessed this council platform genocide, denial, and grotesque, explicit, racist atrocity propaganda that directly harms survivors of sexual violence in this town. Community members have been doxxed, stalked, harassed, and screamed at in public, had their livelihoods threatened for speaking out against injustice. Multiple have been targeted and harassed by this city's law enforcement. And on top of all that, silence from council members on our proposed ceasefire resolution, even as thousands are being murdered in Palestine by Israeli forces with our county's support. Why silence? Under the Brown Act, you're not allowed to comment on items not on the agenda. Okay, why not on the agenda? The only reason I can think of not to act as fast as you possibly can on an issue like this, that may be a once-in-career opportunity to do something really, really impactful and good for the world, which could have a ripple effect saving millions of lives, is that you have bowed to the pressure of local Zionists who do not even respect you enough to believe you have the capacity for understanding this conflict. Not surprising for most politicians, we all know Israel has a massive lobbying presence in American politics, but I don't think you guys are important enough to be receiving AIPAC money, so you're buying their self-victimization narrative for free? Really? Even with all their stories that were thoroughly debunked by credible sources months ago? Seriously, why is this not on the agenda? Are you scared? Are you scared?
Do I look scared?
That if you reveal yourselves to your constituents as cowards who choose to enable the most well-documented genocide in history, we will never let you live in peace? You should be. My question earlier was rhetorical. I know what's going on in this town. You are all too comfortable being glass closet racists, hiding behind our town's quaint progressive image. You are all too comfortable siding with the oppressors right now and condemning them later. History does not favor the oppressors. I know it, and I know you know it. I know you know what you should do. You should do it for yourselves. Truly, in the end, we don't need you. Liberation is inevitable. No matter how long it takes and no matter how many stand in our way, these empires and these structures of oppressions will collapse and the people will be free. But right now, we are here, and you have a really easy choice to make. Will you join the tide of liberation or not?
Thanks, Ann.
My name is Ray, and I am a resident of Nevada City. I come here today requesting that you adopt a resolution in solidarity with Palestine, calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and an end to U.S. military aid to Israel. Palestinian liberation and Jewish safety are not opposing causes. The proposed resolution includes Jewish and Muslim safety in our community. I appreciate that this city council has taken steps to acknowledge that we are all here on unceded Nisenan land. Everyone wants to practice land acknowledgements after the genocide. Right now, each one of you has an opportunity to stand with Indigenous peoples and oppose the current genocide in Palestine. I question the humanity and the decency and the purpose of this council if you continue to do nothing. At our last city council meeting, we heard from those who oppose the ceasefire that this issue is too complex and that we should not involve ourselves in matters that don't concern us here. In reality, the story of Palestine is a textbook case of colonialization. I want to be very clear, there is nothing too complicated to understand about ethnic cleansing, mass murder, and genocide of Palestinians. Additionally, the U.S. has given Israel more aid than any other nation since World War II, totaling more than $317 billion. So there is no denying our participation or our concern in this matter. Our tax dollars are currently funding a literal genocide, and we have been expected to stay quiet. We will not be quiet.
We will not stop showing up to these meetings until you add this ceasefire resolution to the agenda. This has already been quoted, but it's worth quoting again. Political activist Angela Davis has said, "Palestine is a moral litmus test for the world." So far, you are failing this test. You are failing us, and you are failing Palestinians. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
I think there was someone that you called the name of before me.
Thanks, Yusuf.
It was ZSA.
Yeah. Go ahead, Yusuf. Thanks for checking in.
Okay, so my name is Yusuf. I'm a Palestinian. I was born and raised in Egypt, though. So I'm using my privilege as a citizen of this mostly awesome country to speak with free speech to government officials. Back home in Egypt, they torture if you do it, but it's a dictatorship that this government helped establish. But that's besides the point. Since October 7th, which I admit was an atrocity and nothing justifies it, I've lost over 12 family members in Gaza who were slaughtered and exterminated in some of the most heinous ways. I want you to look at your hands right now, and I'm being serious. Please look at your hands and imagine the blood of my 4-year-old cousin. Her name is Maryam. That means Mary in English or Arabic. The last thing that I heard her say was, "Don't be worried about us. We'll be fine. We were fine. My parents were fine back in 2014, 2021. She was not fine. She was, we don't know how she died, but it could have been starvation. It could have been suffocation. But it could have just been a bomb that killed her. So I invite you to see her not as Maryam, not as a Palestinian, but as Mary, an American white woman living in America. I believe that the blood of all 12 and probably more of my family members who have been slaughtered is on your hands, whether you like that or not. Right now you have the opportunity to stand in solidarity with them and right the wrongs that you and your government and what you represent have done. I'm not a person of hate, so I'm not going to hold you accountable for anything. My culture and my religion teaches me forgiveness. But I can forgive for the past and I can forgive for the present, but I cannot, under no circumstances, forgive for the future and what you do from here on out. So I please implore you, I'm begging you, please add this to the resolution or at least a discussion. I don't want to see any more WhatsApp messages, messenger messages saying so-and-so has been killed, so-and-so has been killed. So please, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Yusuf. Jeffrey, we're going to put you back in rotation. Thanks. Right?
What was that, Gus?
Yeah, but did we call him again for the third time?
It's in the past.
Okay, come on.
He was late.
Yeah, we called him twice.
My name is Jeffrey Gottesman. I'm a resident of Nevada City, and I'm also a spokesperson for the Peace and Justice Center of Nevada County. And I've come, and for Jewish Voice for Peace, and I've come tonight to share with you that I was raised as a child in Queens, and my half of my friends' parents were Holocaust survivors. And my friends and I used to sit around talking about why it was that during the Holocaust, the good German people didn't rise up and speak out to defend us, and why it was that local governments were so cowardly that they didn't speak up and defend the people who lived in their towns. They said that it wasn't a local issue. It was a national issue, and they couldn't take a stand. And so tonight I'm asking you to put this resolution on your agenda. I'm asking you to do that because to not do it, along with all the thousands of other towns that are debating it right now, to not do that is the same as saying that we're okay with the continuation of this genocide. And we're okay with premeditated epidemics caused by bombing water and sewer plants. We're okay with children having their limbs amputated with no anesthesia. We're okay with mass starvation and with 10,000 children killed so far. And this is not just you that I'm speaking to, but I'm also speaking to my Israeli kin who are here arguing against this and saying we'd rather not talk about it. But I'm urging them to drop their opposition, and I'm urging them to join us in calling for a ceasefire that will preserve the lives that are left and return to a path of righteousness.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Okay, the next four are Lauren Osani, Caroline Patterson, Rachel Churiel, and Diana Kay.
Good evening. I didn't think I'd get a chance. Lauren Oceani, Nevada City resident, property owner, tax-paying citizen, and so on. I do feel for the people here who somehow continue to make this all about themselves. Although the self-victimization is astounding and alarming, sadly, it's to be expected. It must be otherworldly to look beyond that scope, to fully comprehend the gravity of what's happening and what it is they are backing, as well as all of you. I do and I will continue to implore you all to research outside the script your government has told you from the day you were born, but I also understand having the cognitive empathy, emotional intelligence, and logical reasoning skills necessary to do so is incomprehensible when your history has been proselytized and bottle-fed in order to breed a false narrative along with complicity. And let me preface what I'm about to say next by letting you all know again, I am a Jewish American woman, granddaughter to Holocaust survivors, Jewish through the blood of the matriarchs in my family. This whole fear-driven propaganda scheme attempting to equate anti-Zionism to anti-Semitism is nothing more than white supremacy's cloak and dagger being broadcasted with an authoritarian suit and tie. For all of those who continue to act as though the present-day struggles of being Jewish are on par with the discrimination that any Palestinian, Black, Brown, or Native Indigenous First Peoples are subjected to or have to endure on a daily basis, you are mistaken. Especially, even more so, if you've lived in or were born in Israel, where you have access to and the huge advantage of free universal health care and a college education. This self-righteousness is conditioned indoctrination under false principles and illogical fallacies being used to justify occupation and genocide. Their bootstraps were put on and tied for them. How dare they? They have no right to claim victim here. And as for all of you, limiting public comments, really? As though this genocide is an inconvenience to you? Who bought or sold you? Why are you silent? Why has this not come up yet? I mean, I don't understand. The evidence of what has happened and continues to happen in Gaza is profuse and staggering, and no person with a credible conscience can deny those facts. Perhaps your own privileged stature is what created your indifference. We're all watching you as your true values unravel through your silence, as well as your lack of shared humanity.
Thank you, Lauren.
Hi, I'm Caroline Patterson. I'm a 15-year resident of this county. I'm also here to urge you all to prioritize the ceasefire resolution. So I'm a birth doula in this community, and I work with mothers and families during what is normally the most precious time in a person's life. Seeing and knowing that every day there are mothers giving birth while they're getting bombed, having C-sections without anesthesia, giving birth in the worst unsanitary situations, and not having the opportunity to rest and recover before being forced to move breaks my heart, and it should break every human being's heart. Some of these mothers carry their children for 9 months and go through labor in the worst conditions imaginable, only to have their babies killed shortly after. I've also seen pregnant women in labor getting shot down and bombed on their way to hospitals while holding white flags. No one deserves this. It is the birthright of every mother to give birth in safety and to see her children grow up. Can you imagine what that must be like? And can you feel the urgency to bring a stop to these unconscionable acts? It's mind-boggling that we need to convince anyone to have this common humanity and morality. After 3 months of this ongoing genocide, which didn't start on October 7th, by the way, I'm convinced that you all must already know the details, and you've seen the thousands of heartbreaking videos coming out of Gaza. I've heard some people that oppose our county getting involved, stating that they fear anti-Semitism and hate among our residents. But I'm here to affirm that it's love, not hate, that brings us here. If our Israeli brothers and sisters were in the same situation, we'd be here for them as well. We're not anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic, or hateful. Do not confuse our frustration with hate. Do not confuse our grief with hate. Do not confuse our sense of urgency with hate. We're for freedom and liberation of all peoples, and it's with deep love in my heart that brings me here today. I ask you all to leave whatever political reasons that might make you hesitant to jump on board and open your hearts as well. This is for all of humanity. We're not separate from the rest of the world, and what we do here has a chance to make things change for everyone. So I urge you all to stop remaining neutral and to listen to the residents of this county. There is no neutrality when we have the power to stop thousands of innocent people from being murdered and displaced. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
My name is Rachel Turiel. I am a resident of Nevada City. I am a mother, a wife, a community member, and a woman who cares about doing the right thing for humanity. Both my mother and father are of Jewish descent. I was brought up in a Jewish home. Our family name is on a plaque in Turkey for Holocaust survivors. And to this day, I still celebrate Jewish holidays and my culture. I am here today because I want to be a catalyst for change and a vessel for love and compassion. We have witnessed enough violence, and our local community is being impacted by this genocide. This is one of the most violent and horrific assaults on a civilian population in the last 100 years. Palestinian voices are begging for us to do everything in our power to make a difference, to use our voices and to turn the tide. We ask you, the City Council, to affirm the basic principles of our shared humanity and reject this genocide. It is time for you to stand up for us as a collective justice. Make the right choice and join the other city councils around the county and join the growing chorus for an immediate and permanent ceasefire. Over 30,000 people have been killed and more than 50,000 have been injured to date in Gaza alone. Using 2,000-pound unguided bombs in heavily populated areas, preventing humanitarian aid and cutting off crucial resources to hundreds of thousands of people all amounts to a very heartbreaking and disproportionate form of collective punishment and retaliation inflicted on innocent civilians. If we remain silent in the face of such horrors, what does that say about us? Please pass a ceasefire resolution. This county is watching, the world is watching, and the time is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Hi, my name is Diana, and I'm a resident of Nevada City. I come here today requesting that you adopt a resolution in solidarity with Palestine, calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and an end to U.S. military aid to Israel. I come here today as a nurse, a healthcare worker, and a human who cares. The New Yorker recently interviewed the chief economist of the World Food Program to uncover how dire food scarcity is in Gaza right now. I'm going to focus my time on quoting this interview. I want it to be very clear that famine is a term used to define a dire level of food scarcity, and famine can have many causes. In the case of Gaza, famine is directly linked to Israel's forced starvation of Palestinians through hostilities, including bombardment, ground operations, and besiegement of the entire population. Begin quote. Last month, a UN report on hunger described a catastrophic situation in Gaza where more than 90% of the population has been facing acute food insecurity and where virtually all households are skipping meals every day. Much of Gaza is at risk of famine in the next several months. This is the highest share of people facing high levels of acute food insecurity ever recorded for any given area or country. If what is happening continues or worsens, pretty soon, within the next 6 months, we will have a full-fledged famine. Gaza needs more food coming in. It needs to be distributed as well. They need to go where the people are, and I don't know how you can do that without a ceasefire. 80% of the people, or 4 out of 5 people globally, in famine or catastrophic type of hunger are in Gaza right now. End quote. I'll repeat that. 4 out of 5 people globally in famine or catastrophic type of hunger are in Gaza right now. This is a forced starvation by Israel. This could have been prevented. This can be helped only through ceasefire now and humanitarian aid now. I call on this council to put the ceasefire resolution on the agenda at your next meeting. Listening to the voices and will of residents is your most important duty as representative leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
The next 4 are Shiri Villarreal.
And this will be the last 4, Gabby.
Ren, who is online, Elizabeth Payne, and Yahid Zanan.
Hi, I'm Shiri Villarreal, born and raised in Israel. How come no one in this room mentioning Hamas, which is unfortunately the ruling authority of the Palestinian people? Why not mention the 30 Israeli girls, 18 years old, held captive, abused, raped daily, and used as sex slaves, some perhaps sold by now and trafficked? Some of those young girls are likely pregnant, if even alive. The images of them sent by Hamas was of their beat-up bodies and bloodied faces as they appear to be in a complete state of agony and shock, crying for their lives. Feminist activists, human justice activists, all these people in the room crying that they care so much about the suffering of others. Perhaps anyone? Radio silence. Me too, unless you're a Jew. I'm sorry to say this justice is selective. This is brainwash activism. When a woman who is denying rape, murder, and kidnap of 100 young girls by terrorists can feel entitled to stand outside Briar Patch and scream aggressively at a community member who is an Israeli father that Zionists are not welcome here, making a riot over an Israeli Jewish local man, telling him he is not welcome in a place she isn't from, a place that opened its door for her to have the nice life she have here. And she brings severe racism and Jew hatred upon our community, spreading hateful lies and anti-Israel propaganda, all under the umbrella of this war and the supposed care for oppressed people. All while this group also fostering behaviors such as bullying, bigotry, and even some neo-Nazis who yells Heil Hitler at us. Is this what you want to see in our community? Is she now targeting us, judging us, and harassing us for being Israeli Jews who's seeing things differently, likely because we were born and raised in this conflict and war and breathed it and lived it our entire lives? As an Israeli community who is raising our family here, this is a growing issue and we are not feeling safe. Their grotesque actions around our town are toxic and does not promote peace but hatred. Peace begins with me. So if they think traumatizing our children on a family fair at Victorian Christmas with their covered faces and makeshift dead babies in their hand is justice, because as Peace and Justice Nevada County told me in response to that act, there is no peace or celebration for our community as long as we support a genocide, and that my child will handle the trauma just like the Gazan children are suffering theirs, justifying hurting our little ones. Wow, that is some very interesting justice, Mr. Jeffrey. If you care about people, you care about all people. But somehow hurting our community is legitimate to you.
Thank you.
Demand Hamas to cease fire and surrender.
Thank
Return our
you.
raped.
Okay, our next speaker is Ren. Online, go ahead, Ren.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Hello, welcome.
Billions of dollars in military aid to Israel is being extracted from the taxes of a severely overworked and underserved American public. I'm taxed over 20% of what I earn, and it is bankrolling free healthcare and education in Israel, while I'm being told these provisions are financially untenable in the country we're actually living in. And I'm now here debating whether it's justified to carpet bomb the world's largest open-air prison, in which 80% of the 2.3 million inhabitants are refugees forcibly displaced from their native land, half of whom are children under 17 years old. I just want to say, I find it offensive and condescending that a land acknowledgement is given at the beginning of this meeting. It's sickening. Zionism is a political ideology, and there is no Zionist ethnicity. As a descendant deported from Portugal in the 1400s, I want to make it clear that to be Jewish is not to be Zionist. In fact, there are more Christian Protestant Zionists in the United States than there are Jewish ones. And as of 2013, 55% of Protestant Christians in the United States support Zionism, compared to 47% of religious Jews and only 16% of non-religious Jews. People have rights. It's our collective responsibility to fight back against the genocidal regime of Israel, and the stance we take as a community on this issue will be the stance we take on whether or not genocide, mass murder, corralling, and starvation of marginalized people is acceptable. We should all be ashamed of ourselves that we've allowed this to happen for as long as it has. And I hope you make the humane decision to agendize a resolution for an immediate ceasefire. I don't understand why it hasn't happened yet. This is sick to watch. It's fucked up, you guys. Thanks, bye.
Thanks, Ren.
Hi there. I'm someone you probably haven't seen before. My name is Elizabeth Payne, and I had to come here tonight because I'm not complacent, being one of those complacent people amidst what's going on. I come from what we call South County, and it's the little bottom of the county there, the butt of the gun. And I was raised in a very closed-minded household. I have a disabled brother. I myself am disabled, and I've recently moved back into this community. Been here my whole life. I was born off Dorsey Drive. And it doesn't feel like the same community, and I think it's because I've changed, but I've seen a lot of things become misconstrued and a lot of easy answers be the primary way that people operate, because I know that we're all busy in our lives. We all have jobs. We all have hobbies and little things that we'd like to do to delight ourselves on the daily. We all have neighbors to take care of and family members we also have to take care of, especially. And I wouldn't be able to stand it if it was happening to Grass Valley and I was up here watching it happen. I can't stand it when it's happening to our neighbors overseas as well. They're still our neighbors. I heard Bob last night down in Grass Valley tell me that everybody who enters this county is our neighbor, is a part of the community. And that's so true. Think of all the people that come in and out of here. We take their money. And it's how we thrive, is through our neighbors and our community, the help we give each other. And I cannot stand to see this go on and be treated like it's such a complicated issue. There's a lot to learn, and of course, if you've eaten the indoctrination like I did at one point, I was very, very, very hard down the rabbit hole. And the thing that I didn't find there was truth. And I swear to you, based on my meticulous little kind of autistic research, I came to the conclusion that the only thing that's based in truth is a belief in a future for ourselves, loving ourselves, a future for our communities, and being in our communities actively, no matter who, being kind to our neighbors, and taking a stand. I know that this doesn't feel like a local issue, but I swear we can explain why. I love you. All of you.
Thank you. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Hello, City Council. I'm American, Israeli, Jewish, taxpayer, having a newborn just a few days at home, and came here. I just feel a little offensive about this Zionist lie. I believe the right of the Jewish people to be in this region based on the historical and the need of the Jewish nation. It can be along others, but it makes me a Zionist, and I'm not a liar, and it's very offensive to have these signs behind me. But like all the friends here, nobody wants war. It's painful. I know that, raising up there, the experience of growing up in Israel. But sometimes in order to receive safety and solidarity, we need to use force. Like if we had here in the county or in our neighborhood a murder or a rapist, we had to act until it stops. So I'm not supporting the resolution. And I don't believe it's the platform of the county to discuss foreign policies, because then we need to meet here every other day and discuss, all countries like Ukraine, Syria, like the other guy said before. But if we do want ceasefire and we all want to stop, we can just put some pressure on Hamas and bring back those hostages, and I promise it will be easy, will be a ceasefire until they break it again. But if we really want to help the Palestinians to be free and to have a place, we need to help them from a good base, not upon hate and the destroying of Israel as it's the primary goal of Hamas. Slogans like from the river to the sea or all kind of things like that doesn't include a place of Israel. And that I believe the right for the existence, as all the United Nations, not all of them, but most of them agreed on 47, based on the historical and the needs of the Jewish people for a homeland. So I really ask for all the people to research, look really what a lot of people act from love and all those slogans, but inside there is some hate. And we can feel that. We can feel that hate, and watch out where you put your hate. I'm talking for all the people in the back and the people listening. Because like behind this image of freedom fighters, there is a lot of hate. And thank you very much.
Thank you. So it looks like we are at time from the original submissions of we're not taking new public comment, I'm sorry. From the original submissions of public comment, there's one person left in the room and 5 online, so we're gonna go ahead and listen to those folks. We'll take 2 online, 1 in the room, and then finish up with the online comments.
One in the room is Tara Marino.
So Tara, we'll have you come after a couple online ones.
And
Just bring Sarah over first.
okay.
So we'll go ahead and take Sarah.
Okay, and then the one in public. And Jackson Yoder.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, my name is Sarah Alzanoon. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sarah. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm a former resident of Nevada City, and I'm a current resident now in Sacramento. I am Palestinian. My grandfather is from Gaza, and my grandmother was displaced from a village before it was colonized in 1948, where most of her family was killed, and this was 40 years before the creation of Hamas. I think it's important to understand that Palestinians have been experiencing a long history of bloodshed, illegal occupation, and ethnic cleansing. As a Palestinian American, I'm not a stranger to witnessing extremely horrendous impacts of this conflict. Gaza is essentially a besieged large concentration camp. Israel controls every aspect of Palestinian life, clearly, as the government has cut off water, electricity, food, and telecommunications. I lived there 10 years ago, so I know that every aspect of life has been controlled. I was not able to see my family when I was there 10 years ago in the West Bank. This is another chapter to the many aggressions Israel has declared alone. More recently, 2008, 2012, 2019, and 2021. I have many family members in Gaza. Minute by minute, I'm under a lot of psychological distress, wondering what lies for my family the next day. Every day is worse than the day before. The bombing has destroyed 30,000 homes, actually more now. Today, we are witnessing a harrowing spilling of blood in Gaza. There's more blood than drinking water in Gaza. The death toll is now over 30,000, which is 3 times more of the population of the current town I live in. In the short amount of time, which seems like the longest month of my life, my family has lost their homes, their livelihood, and their lives. They have been displaced. Some of them would be experiencing their 5th displacement in their lifetimes. My family was given orders to flee from the south. They were bombarded on the way. I am witnessing my own family through social media lose weight, not having food and water. They move slower, more intentionally as each day may be their last. My eyes open in the morning and I can't help but think of how many of theirs haven't. I look at the ceiling above me and I think of all the ones that have collapsed on them. I stare at my hands and I think of how useless that they might feel at a time like this. All my family ever wanted was a normal life. On October 26th, I found out 7 of my cousins that share my same last name were killed. And I'd like to read each name to you. Ahmed Alzanoon, age 16. Shaza Alzanoon, age 16. Hana Alzanoon, age 15. Karima Alzanoon, age 14. Saja Alzanoon, age 10. And Yasin Alzanoon, who was only 1 year old. When I consider my close cousins, in addition to my extended family, my family death toll is 56.
Sarah, your time's up. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for your losses. Next online, Gabby.
Next online is Jackson Yoder. Go ahead, Jackson.
Good evening, council and constituents. My name is Jackson Yoder. I am not from Nevada County, but my family has been vacationing in Truckee and all throughout Nevada County since I was 5 years old for about 20 years now. And I can tell you that in all of my time spent in Truckee, I noticed for decades that there was never a monument to the Chinatowns that were ethnically cleansed. And you know what that means? That means that not only the residents of Nevada County ethnically cleansed the Native Americans that were living there for thousands of years. Not only did that mean that they ethnically cleansed the Chinese Americans on whose backs were built the Transcontinental Railroad and the communities that exist today, but we are seeing now, for the 3rd time, your constituents not asking you to pass a ceasefire resolution, not asking you to pass a boycott resolution. All they're asking you to do is put this measure on the agenda just to discuss it, right? Sooner than later, you may think to yourself right now, right, that the dozens of people who have come out tonight to speak in favor of a ceasefire resolution are just some radical backwater folks. Increasingly, as San Francisco, as Richmond, as Providence, as Seattle, as Oakland, as cities across the United States pass ceasefire resolutions, you will find yourself in the minority. And when the time comes to ask ourselves, who stood up against genocide and who just let it pass us by, we are going to remember which among you did the bare fucking minimum to support a ceasefire resolution, and which of you said, yeah, we're okay with genocide.
He's done.
He left the Zoom.
He left the Zoom.
Thanks, Jackson. All right, in the room, please.
Good evening. My name's Tara Marino. I'm a resident of Grass Valley, and I work in Nevada City with a local nonprofit serving all of Nevada County. So I'm kind of skipping ahead of what I had written or in my comment about all the atrocities that we have witnessed, because so many people have recounted those so far, so I'll just skip ahead. But historically, white people cannot be made to feel uncomfortable. I'm very uncomfortable, hate speaking in front of others, but we must do it for this cause. We do not like to disturb other people's peace or empathize for people that don't look like them or share their beliefs. We live in a society of privilege where you won't speak out about something unless it directly impacts you personally. That is not community. That is not loving thy neighbor. That is not, or I'm sorry, that is just pathetically self-centered. If you're here tonight to call for our silence rather than a ceasefire, you have lost your humanity. Not only are you advocating for an ongoing hell in Gaza, but you are forcing your community members to continue to witness things that will haunt our souls forever and cause more damage to the people of Palestine, Israel, the US, and beyond. If our representatives and politicians are talking about fighting for freedom for others, and not for the people living under siege in Gaza, they might as well just sit down and shut up. No one wants to hear politicians' false empathy for the terror the US and Israeli government is inflicting on Gaza. Israel and our US governments have put us in what some would call an impossible situation, but we have this opportunity to unite against anti-Semitism and Palestinian liberation here as a community, to urge our government to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and to stop military aid to Israel. Please do not make us continue to come here and beg for your humanity. It's more disheartening with every meeting where we look at apathetic faces that refuse to stand on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Okay, the next one we have is online, and it's Bacha. Go ahead, Bacha.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Batya. I'm a resident of Nevada County. I'm here to ask you to adopt a resolution for a ceasefire of Hamas. Hamas, Hezbollah, and ISIS, terror groups who state publicly that their main mission is to kill Jews. Hearing the recording of a terrorist, or as some in this audience would call him, a freedom fighter, who on October 7th called his parents out of a community village full with citizens who fight for peace and said, Baba, which is dad in Arabic, I killed 10 Jews. I have the blood of 10 Jews on my hands. Hearing his parents bless him and encourage him to keep his mission, which is killing Jews. I ask that you condemn this genocide of Jews and the psychological terror making so much people here believe that the situation is opposite. I ask you to call to the release of 130 women, kids, elderly, and men still captive by the Hamas, who, to remind you, wants to kill them. Women who are going through rape, forbidden life-saving medication, and did no harm to anyone. I ask you that you acknowledge the anti-Semitism and hate acts happening in our county. For example, a musician outside Briar Patch being yelled at that he is not welcome there. yells like Hail Hitler, Kill the Jews, and Intifada, which means violent resistance. For example, a Jewish kid in public school here being bullied and had his yarmulke snatched off his head. A woman and her kids speaking Hebrew in CVS and being asked how she feels having Palestinian blood on her hands in front of her young kids. And as an Israeli, just to explain the ignorance of some of the people who state they are here to educate you, there are Israeli Muslims, Christians, Jews, and Africans. So please, I ask you to pass a resolution for Hamas to cease fire, because as everyone knows, once they'll put their guns down, there will be no more war. To stop the genocide against Jews and to stop using their people in Palestine as human shields. I ask you to pass a resolution to stop Hamas, or at least stay out of the way of the people who are sacrificing their lives to do so. I just wanted to say I'm here representing a lot of my friends that already have been there speaking to you and feel that your time is valuable, and they come one time and speak to you and they respect that you are remembering and hearing their voices. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have signed in as Free Palestine. Go ahead. You're free to address council.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This meeting was started by a land acknowledgement, a declaration in
Josh.
support of the Nisenan people, and an acknowledgement that the land we stand upon was stolen by colonists. This acknowledgement states that the city's intent to move past its colonial history and to right the wrongs of its past. We bear a scar from our history, and we cannot mend it without standing firmly with Indigenous and oppressed people, both in our own community and across the world. Marginalized people in our community face discrimination and oppression, but that isn't an excuse to turn a blind eye to the oppression, apartheid, and genocide that is happening across the world. As we speak, the Palestinian people are dying, facing extermination and forced expulsion. And the least we can do to aid in their fight for freedom is to express our commitment to their liberation. What we're asking isn't a lot. It's to stand on the right side of history and stand with people facing oppression in our own community and abroad. If this city is dedicated to Indigenous liberation, then it must be dedicated to collective liberation of Indigenous people in every nation, in the Congo, in West Papua, in Sudan, and most urgently in Palestine. Every 10 minutes, a child dies in Gaza. You can do the math and figure out how many kids have been murdered during this meeting alone. 30,000 people are dead. We can't wait anymore. If we want this bloodshed to end, then we need every voice to stand united. City Council, I ask you, use your voice.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay, the next one we have would be the last one signed in as Galaxy Tab. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
That's good that I'm anonymous. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Matthew.
Hi. Yeah, because I read right in the front of the Brown Act for the citizens can participate without giving their name. So I thought it was kind of odd that you had lists of names for people to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I understand we're trying to weed out the folks that are calling from other places, but I think the intent is a little odd. I'd like to speak, since we're on this subject, about Dwight Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States. On his way out of the government, January 17th, 1961, he gave a little speech about the military-industrial complex. And in that speech, the same year, the Mark 80 bomb was invented for the Vietnam War and beyond. Now it's the Mark 84. It's been modified. 50-foot crater width, 36-foot crater depth, 15 inches of steel it can penetrate, 11 feet of concrete it can penetrate, with a 400-yard lethal fragmentation area. These are really cheap to actually produce. They're dumb bombs. They just drop them. And the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Israel haven't spoken since the 23rd of December. I find that shocking. But I know that General Dynamics, who makes these bombs, is in constant contact with Israel to make sure that they have enough 2,000-pound bombs to drop in the most populated area on the planet. It's insanity. It needs to stop. And anything you can do at any level, even personally, myself, I try not to use gasoline. I try not to do a lot of other things that I feel contributed to the war machine that dominates the U.S. market. So it is all about money, and beware of the military-industrial complex, like the 34th president said. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We are going to recess for 5 minutes. Thank you all for participating in democracy tonight. folks. Calling everybody back.
And I'm like,
Who's the popcorn from? Has it been tested?
that's ours. Tie-dye Tuesdays and Monday movies.
All right, moving right along.
Got a popcorn. All right, let's do some business.
All right, folks, we're moving on to the consent agenda.
Oh, wow.
All items.
Jeez.
Yep, that's it. Just there. That's where we are. Hey, the city of Santa Cruz had 9 hours of public comment
Yeah, no, we can't
last night.
complain.
It went past
You
2
need some from
a.m.
Pascal?
Did not take the full
An email,
stand
Yeah, me too.
that was expected.
Right, they passed the modified resolution.
Say.
That wasn't a resolution. All right, so all items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature. We do pay attention. Do you guys watch the news? Just curious.
I live
All
on
right.
the news.
All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Before we take action on the consent calendar, we will hear any public comment on consent calendar items, only including any requests to pull consent items. Do we have any public comment in the room on a consent item? All right, what about online, Gabby?
There may be. Is your hand, Jim Conley, is your hand raised for a consent item agenda item? Jim, what is your comment on? He's connecting, yeah. His hand was not raised in the past, so
All right,
it's,
we'll give it a moment
okay.
to connect to audio.
Still trying. No luck.
All right. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Great, they beat you to it, Doug. Vice Mayor Peterson and Councilmember Cece, we have a motion and a second. Are there any objections to the motion? Are there any objections? No. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Moving right along to business. A roll call vote will be required for this one. Look at me reading all of the words on the screen. Consideration of a couple of things, a few things. One, the purchase of a new hybrid Jeep Wrangler, a 4XE vehicle from Auburn Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in the amount of $59,000. I wonder what that word is. Number is $59,272.
207. No, 207.
207.
Semicolon, number 2 parentheses.
Oh, okay.
What's the number 2 for? You doing it twice?
That's the second one. It's the second item. There's 3 items. In
I did the same thing. Yes.
Oh, I get it.
Number 2, I did say a few things. Number 2, uplifting from upfitting. I know about cars. Upfitting from. It's been a while since I've read. I've been listening so well.
You could just ask the chief to read his own item.
Upfitted from geared up drivetrain for emergency equipment in the amount of $22,003. Parentheses, authorize the city manager to issue purchase orders for all of the items and exercise a contingency amount not to exceed $8,500 to place the vehicle in service. Chief Dan Voss, I'm going to invite you up here to tell us about this.
I should have
What's
said
going on?
ellipse instead of
Are all the
parentheses.
mics
Sorry.
on? Can you make sure all the mics are on?
Thank you, Mayor,
Yes.
members of council, and I will try to explain all those dollar amounts now. So yeah, what we have tonight on the agenda is the purchasing of a new fleet vehicle. This one is a little bit unique for one of our fleet vehicles. As everybody knows, we traditionally purchase the Chevy Tahoe. I am very happy with the Chevy Tahoe. However, the last 2 winters, we have experienced some very heavy, hard winters. And we were prepared, but we did see a gap in where we could use a different type of vehicle, at least one. I'll give you a little bit of a scenario for it. During the winter months when we had the heavy snow, we do have the snow plows that come through the city. A lot of them, as we saw, I know a lot of you heard a lot of complaints from citizens. I definitely did, where the snowplows keep the streets clear, but they definitely kind of block some of the driveways and everything else. People have a very hard time getting out. Even our vehicles would have a hard time getting in if there is an emergency. The city manager and I both shoveled a couple of driveways, and what that really taught me is I'm not young, and there's not many I could shovel before I'm out of steam. So we looked at what our options are for another vehicle. This vehicle here is a Jeep Wrangler Willys is what it's called. And where it's a little bit unique too is it's the hybrid model. So it has a full electric engine that on a full charge it goes 27 miles, which is great for the driver of this one.
Wait a minute, 27 miles?
27 miles, not
full
far, not far, but
Well, the gas
considering-
mileage is pretty rough on that vehicle too.
I think the gas mileage, which I do have here, is not terrible because it's fairly small. I might have it
I mean,
here.
on the non-hybrid Wrangler.
Oh, yes, on the non-hybrid, it's
I'm
it's
sorry,
not
Chief,
great.
I'm not trying to challenge you or anything, but it's just difficult for me to imagine somebody actually doing an electric vehicle that only gets 27 miles per charge?
Per charge, but then it converts to the gas engine.
Ah,
So it's a
okay, so
hybrid,
it's a
so it has
hybrid,
a
all
gas
right,
engine
okay,
and the
all
electric
right,
engine.
Okay.
So just a few things for this vehicle.
Just
And
shut up,
the hybrid model is something that we want to definitely invest in going forward in our community. And as technology for that gets better and better, we'll continue to invest in that. So a couple things that this does have over our Tahoes is higher ground clearance with a smaller wheelbase, which makes it much better for more maneuverability if we do need to use it off-road and on-road. Increased off-road capability, obviously. It has an attached forward recovery winch. We get a lot of people stuck around here. Right now, we use tow cables. We just pull them right out with the back of our vehicles. It damages our vehicles. It can damage their vehicle. This is more equipped for that, readily available. This one I love. It's an attachment snowplow. So it's a snowplow that goes right onto the front of the vehicle, and it's operated by the winch. It's not made to clean the roads. We have vehicles for that. This is made to clean driveways, to clean alleyways. If we have a fire department that needs to get in somewhere and they're having trouble getting access, this can clear that for them. So this is a vehicle that we do not have that gap right now in our community. So there's a lot of usages for this if and when we have another winter like we have been having. So we estimate this vehicle can operate in heavy snowfall of up to 4 feet. So that's pretty good, and that should be more than we're ever hopefully going to get around here. So
Never know anymore.
never know. But hopefully that's
With the
what's
right
gonna
driver, right,
With
Chief?
the right driver, not
you.
me.
Yeah.
but with the right driver, and then we'll have the right driver. And finally, what I'd like to touch on is our vehicles generally get about 10 years in their fleet life, so that's pretty good overall time frame. I'll touch a little bit on what upfitting is, what that is, and what the cost for that is to make it an emergency vehicle. So this vehicle will not be pursuit rated. Almost all the vehicles we buy, they're called what's pursuit rated. They're engaged, designed to be used for police purposes. So they have a little bit more horsepower, they have a little bit better suspension, they usually have better ballistic doors, or they have ballistic doors. This vehicle I foresee as more of a safety vehicle for our community. It will be in our fleet, but it fulfills a different need. Jeeps are not fast, so this one will not be getting in a pursuit. But it will have lights and siren, it will have a radio, it will have all the needs of a police vehicle, and that's what the upfitting cost is. So with that, and all of these funds, they will not be coming, for this vehicle, will not come out of the general fund. There's 2 different funds that will be coming out of. One is our vehicle fund that we use every year just for vehicles. And the other one is a vehicle abatement, which means when you have an abandoned vehicle or something of that nature, the supervisor for this vehicle will be the supervisor of vehicle abatement. So we are able to use funds for that as well, a significant amount of funds.
Nice.
So with that, is there any questions on this item?
Thanks so much, Chief. Anybody have questions? Concerns, comments?
Public comment?
Public comment.
No, I'm going to ask the table first.
Okay, that's fine.
Thanks,
No,
team.
I'm good.
Thanks,
I
team.
like your thinking, Chief. I know you're always looking at filling the gaps, and you demonstrate good thinking and wisdom in your choices in doing that, so I absolutely support it.
Thank you, Councilman.
Answered all the questions I had. Thanks, Chief.
Are we getting rid of some of the other cars? Don't we have some excess right now?
Slowly we are. And we're just now getting to the stage where we're getting all the vehicles that we needed. We were a little bit behind just before I came here. I know an item was brought to this council where we actually bought a vehicle that had a blown engine, put a new engine in it. So we were really behind. But thankfully, we've caught up to where we need to be, and we're retiring one vehicle retiring out of law enforcement services and relabeling it into a different capacity for code enforcement. We don't have a designated code enforcement vehicle.
okay.
But that is, again, that vehicle's 13 years old, but that's perfect for what we need to use it for. So we are retiring vehicles. Ideally, we want to get to that new paint scheme that we've all seen that looks great, so we're working towards that.
What about what are the plans for converting the fleet ultimately to hybrid or electric down, well, obviously not electric right now with this kind of mileage, but.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with the electric fleet or with electric vehicles, well, there's two major problems. When you get into four-wheel drive needs, which we do have, there's a very limited option for vehicles that you could buy. I think the only one realistically, I was talking to some of my cohorts in Truckee, is the Rivian. That's not really been tested a whole lot yet. The mileage on it is not great just yet, and the charge time is very long. So right now, if they need to get gas, they go and get gas, and these vehicles have to stay in service constantly. So if we're talking about a 45-minute or an hour-long recharge time, is it practical that they could swap vehicles? Not really, because all their gear is in one vehicle. It can be very difficult. We're moving in that direction. I would say we're moving slowly. And the other thing is we have to have reliability, right? And we don't want to test new things for the entire fleet on our law enforcement. It's okay to test one or two, but to test our entire fleet, I think, is a little dangerous. So realistically, council member, to answer your question, we're probably a number of years out at best
You got till
do a full
2030.
conversion. Yeah, and our power, and our power system here, I don't know if it, when we need them most, when we most need emergency vehicles, are we going to have the power here to charge them? Those are questions we'd really have to look at.
We're going to have the charger, yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's also a lot of funding out there for fleet replacement, for hybrids right now and, electric. So we can certainly look at some of the funding.
Our CIP, the 5-year portion, it's actually a 10-year fleet replacement program that would replace, it's a full electrification of the light-duty pickup trucks and smaller, excluding the police department, and that actually excludes all of Public Works as well, because they're heavier-duty trucks. They would be, so if you look at our CIP, the first 5 years are represented there. The back 5 years would fully electrify the fleet, which we're required to do, and then we intend to follow suit with the other ones as technology becomes available, because the same thing would apply to a snowplow. We can't just stop for 4 hours plowing because it needs to recharge, and it takes that long. But we believe the technology will come along. The fortunate thing is we modeled our electrification plan after the county's electrification plan, mostly because theirs cost a lot of money and we could just do our 30 vehicles on our own. But they'll be a good, bellwether for that for us.
If I could, I think the other thing is too is a lot of people are going to crack that code long before we need to, about how to keep electric police cars in service and stuff. And we'll study those big cities and all those resolutions about the fleet and adapt from what they've done.
So I'm working with Contra Costa County. We've replaced, they're using Rivians and all that stuff. And so,
but it's so new, but we're too small to be
We're getting there, but
that on the
I just love that we have one. So that's
we're getting
progress.
there. And the other thing you have to consider too is the draw on a police vehicle is a lot more severe than a regular vehicle. So if the range for a regular vehicle is 350 miles, well, when you put lights on it, when you put siren on it, when you put radio on it, when you put all the police gear on it, it goes from 350 to 250. So the drain on a full electric is a lot more severe.
Sure.
But we're getting there. We're moving in that direction.
I love the progress.
Thanks, Chief. I'm going to bring it online now and ask if there's any public comment online.
I believe we have one. How about Galaxy Tab? Matthew, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still hanging in there.
We love
I did
you.
a video the other day on the sheriff's department's vehicles in the middle of the day and how many dozens of vehicles, new vehicles, there were sitting there, and even some of them were even running with no one around, which I found interesting. I know that we're trying, we use these words like carbon neutral and all these different things and climate change, but these vehicles that we're purchasing are, if you look into the manufacturing process of vehicles and how much fresh water they use and how much mining it takes and how much energy it takes to produce a new vehicle, it is just incredible. It'll if the vehicle lasted 200 years, it would never recoup its costs in what it cost to even produce the vehicle. So I'm just kind of dumbfounded when I see all the municipalities buying brand new vehicles, and especially ones that don't get good mileage. I know this is a hybrid, but everything in the Jeep line is the worst of the worst for mileage. Look it up. That's getting the same mileage as like a dually Dodge truck. So yeah, I just see it as another toy, another parade vehicle to demonstrate during parades. And like the electric motorcycles and other things, the only time I see them out is when there's parades. And that just doesn't seem like a good use of money for the city. Thank you.
Thanks, Galaxy Tab. Anybody in the room that would like to comment on this item? All right, so I am looking for a motion to approve the purchase and authorize the purchase orders and contingency.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second, and Gabby, can we get a roll call, please?
I just wanted to make
Councilmember
one
Cece?
comment if I could.
Yes.
Oh, hold on just a second,
I just
I'm
want to
sorry.
make one comment, and it is true about the Jeeps, but this is I just want to point to the chief pointed out, this is a very specific use for this vehicle, and that's why it's important, and that's why I'm happy to support it.
Thanks for that distinction, and you're specifically talking about the snow plow and the maneuverability with that,
Just
yeah.
deal with issues that we need to deal with.
Excellent. Thanks for that distinction, Gary.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
And Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thanks, y'all. Item number 8, consideration of resolution number 2024-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, California, approving the execution of a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, between the County of Nevada, City of Grass Valley, and City of Nevada City for collaboration with animal shelter development and services. Sean Grayson, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Nevada City is long contracted for animal control services and sheltering with the City of Grass Valley. Their facility is over there near their wastewater treatment facility and their training range for the police department. They do operate a very good program, but have pretty old facilities that need to be updated. It is in their capital program to replace it. In the county, the sheriff's office provides animal control services, but separately, the county provides sheltering services through a contract with Sammy's Friends at the county facility on McCorney Road. And that is over 30-year-old facility that really was not designed for that purpose. And at the time it was put in service, the county's population is probably half of what it is today. And people love their animals more than their families often. So both the county and the city were planning for new shelters in the future. And there had been some discussions with Grass Valley about that, but they, at that time, the county was intending to replace at the McCorney Road facility, and it just wasn't practical for Grass Valley to engage in that. And then fast forward to the county acquired land off of LeBar Meadows Road, right next door to their fleet repair facility. It's almost 23-acre facility there that will become the home of the county's new shelter facility. And so that location really works for Grass Valley and the county, and subsequently would work for us because we're tied to Grass Valley right now. So the intent is to work collaboratively to that end. The resolution would adopt the attached MOU, which shares the intent of both the cities and the county to work collaboratively in this space. There's no funds committed in this MOU. We could exit if we wanted to, but ultimately at some point, I hope that everyone will come up with a solution that is collectively best for everyone. If that is a one-stop shop, and I hope that it will be, that's great. If for some reason that's not a plausible solution, then you'll still end up with the county needing to build a facility, Grass Valley needing to replace theirs, and us needing a contract with one of the two of them. So we're gracious. They graciously offered us a seat at the table, and we appreciate that. The mayor and I have attended several meetings about this already in conjunction with the city manager from Grass Valley, their police chief, their mayor, the county CEO, Supervisor Swarthout, former Grass Valley City Council member, has been leading the charge for the Board of Supervisors and, of course, county staff. The Board of Supervisors during the daytime and the Grass Valley during the nighttime adopted the MOU yesterday. And the county's OAS director, Mr. Craig Griesbach, has weathered the storm to get through the meeting with us. He led the process of getting the MOU together, and he invited us to attend the board meeting yesterday, which I did when they passed it, and he's joining us tonight should you have any questions of the county's intent. Like I said, there's no money in this. Is really just kind of memorializing that we're going to work collaboratively together, which seems like you shouldn't have to do that, but this is uncommon in government. It seems like this is good government trying to, make the best product for the least amount of money for the greatest good of the greatest amount of people and the most amount of animals. So if that can all work, that's the best place we could be. So that is all I have on this item, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Wow, we do nice things up here, don't we? Animals are great, so much better than humans. I strongly believe that. Sorry to all the humans in the room. I'm one too. I see, no offense taken. Some of your best friends, humans or animals? Okay, so any public comment in the room on this item?
Draymond had to leave, so.
Oh, Draymond. Well, Draymond can always write in or call in next time. And what about online? Does Galaxy Tab have anything to say?
You've got ice tobacco behind my computer? There is. Go ahead, Matthew.
Galaxy Tab here.
Hi.
Since I was at both those meetings yesterday for the county and the city, I would hope that somebody from Nevada City could maybe put that on their to-do list, which is keep a fire under their butts, because the project was a 4 to 5 year, I believe, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, before it even starts. So it's a ways out in the future. And without reminding them, one small blip comes on the screen like COVID, which was a big blip, and it gets pushed back another couple of years, because they did use that excuse to kind of why it did fall off the radar, that it was on the radar heavily a few years ago, and now it's kind of restarted and rekindled. So hopefully somebody, you must have some animal folks in Nevada City that could kind of, follow this project a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. I am a catadvocate, a strong catadvocate in those meetings, so I will.
I'm allergic to cats, but I'm crazy for catadvocates.
Just for clarification on timeline, Madam Mayor, the county also approved, in addition to the MOU, they approved $1.9 million to go towards the design of this facility. That's not a small amount of money. Justin Drinkwater is their director of facilities, be responsible for the project, presented with Mr. Griesbach at the meeting, and they will be moving forward with that design, and so then that takes some time. And then the real intent is that the three agencies work together to find the solution for how to fund and operationalize the facility for the benefit of all three entities by the time they would need to incur debt services to actually build it. That $1.9 million, it just funds the design, not the facility. Wow. So I appreciate Matthew's, Galaxy Tab's comments, but I'm sure the county will be on it, but if not, then we will light that fire as needed.
If any of us are here then. Okay, any questions, comments at the table for our friend in the room or otherwise?
I thought Sean was pretty comprehensive, but Craig, do you have anything you want to add while you're here?
Look at you,
Look at you, Adam. That's nice. What a great.
Wow.
He's like the county's Keith Collins, like everyone likes him.
Oh, no slight to Dean.
Hi, welcome.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor Fernandez and council members. Thanks for having me. Weathered the storm of public comment to make it here, so happy for that. I think Sean covered the topic very well, and all the topics that I would talk about. related to this subject. I just want to commit that this is a top priority of a capital facility improvement for the county. This is right at the top of the list. So this is going to happen, and as fast as we can to completion in 4 or 5 years, if not faster. So in my tenure with the county, I've been here about a decade. We've done a lot of great things together with the county and the city, and this is another project I know we can do well. And this is ultimately good government, better service to the community, not just our humans, but also our animal population. Potential to save money, one-stop shop for a location to go. It's a win-win on all fronts. So looking forward to working together, and we're all at the table to get this done.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Would you stick around for a moment just in case there's questions at the table?
I'm just curious, what happens to Sammy's friends then?
So right now, Sammy's Friends is our contracted vendor for animal shelter services. So that'll be part of the discussions as far as operations and how that will ideally work with all three of us at the table with the new shelter. With that said, the actual facility, we'll be looking to repurpose that facility for something else. We have an eye on some opportunities with it being next to the transfer station, but that still is going to need to be in the works.
Yeah. Thank you. And this is meant to, my understanding is to supplement their work and support them. So many of our shelters are so overrun and beyond capacity, so highly needed.
Yeah, ultimately, this is a community project, and it's going to involve nonprofits, our community at large, and local government. So.
Yeah, great.
Just for the people at home and listening, I just want to confirm that this is still going to be a no-kill shelter, right?
So as of right now, our policies around animal shelter services remain the same. But again, all of this around operations, design of the facility, implementation of services is going to be discussed as part of this process.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And then funding, is there any idea of where the funding is coming? Is there a plan? I know that you guys put up a hell of a lot of money. That's a lot of money for the county.
Yeah, that's still being discussed and in the works. A lot of that's going to be determined based on the design too and the overall cost. The good thing is the new site that we have is an ideal site. The constructability is way better than the McCourtney Road site, so it allows more opportunity for us.
To grow into it? And,
yep.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Because they're at 200% capacity, I read in the union. I mean, that's a lot of cats. We get our cats there, and they disappear eventually, but we get them again.
To feed the wildlife.
We do.
How many cats, Doug?
We're on our 6th set.
Oh.
Yeah. They've been here for 3 years though. They're good.
Okay.
Careful.
We live near wildlife. Anyway, thank you. Thank you.
I have no more questions for Craig, but I have 1,000 questions for Doug.
I'm laughing. It must have been funny.
I was just.
Go ahead.
At the risk of being overexperienced once again, is that you learn. You learn that one of the really important things to understand in local government is that you don't get the animal thing right, you will get eaten alive. That what we saw tonight is nothing compared to if you go after the animal people. So you got to get this right. That's
there is overlap, you know.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of overlap.
Totally.
So it's important to get that right. I know you guys have been putting a lot of time in it, and that it's great. And I really support the idea of an MOU because it takes it to the next level, and that's where the funding will get figured out, and where we start to build the structure that it's the interim step to final agreements, and really helpful compared to doing things on the back of napkins and carrying on conversations. But the MOUs will help move it along.
All right. Great. Thank you, Gary. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the resolution approving the MOU.
I move we adopt the resolution approving the MOU.
I'll second that.
Great. And Gabby, roll call.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Hell yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
And Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir.
Very much.
Good to see you, Craig.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. Item number 9, consideration of the City of Nevada City 2023. Is that a year? Yes. Year in review report. Yes. I'm working up to the last one. Forgive me. 2023 year in review report, including strategic plan and budget objective updates. Sean, tell us what you mean.
I'm here again, and honored to share a review of activities and accomplishments of what I categorize as Team Nevada City in 2023, and I use that broadly in the document, which is 36 pages, which I won't go over the entire thing. It lists all of our elected officials, appointed community members, which is now 2 commissions and the Fire Safety Advisory Committee, all of our employees, all of our partner agencies, which is the county, Grass Valley, and the like, because they really are the, make up what we do. So it's not one person. It is under the leadership of the council, but I think you know that we have a small workforce, but a large team, community team behind us. So I think everybody that's on that list, and hope that I didn't miss anybody. The document does focus on 3 areas, which are the accomplishments in each department's, what we refer to as standard level service. Those are the things they do every year, the services that they provide to the community without adding things like a strategic plan. Where also the second part is the accomplishment related to the goals of the strategic plan, the 4 embedded strategic initiatives, the 7 priority strategic initiatives. There's 54 goals amongst those in your adopted strategic plan. And then lastly, the objectives from our fiscal year budget, which runs through June 30th of this year. And there's 69 individual objectives that serve the goals, that serve the strategic initiatives of the strategic plan, so that when we say fire, underneath fire, there's 9 goals, and underneath those 9 goals, then there's, the 12 objectives within the budget. That's how we filter it down and then report it back up to the top. So I hear people say all the time, do more with less. In practical terms, that's not possible. It just can't be done. But what you can do is you can do more of the right things with a focus on the right amount of work if you are doing the things that the community wants you to do, not the things that you just feel like doing, and especially if you can leverage technology, which we have been doing, and also solve foundational challenges. Those are the things that hopefully we only have to do once, and then we've removed the roadblock, which makes us more efficient on moving forward. Yeah. So, and of course, it's only possible with our human capital, our best asset, which is the people that work for us, work with us, volunteer with us, and engage the community. So we accomplished more, the team accomplished more in 2023 than those 54 goals or those 69 objectives would indicate that we should have been able to. And that was in the face of Snowmageddon 2. And staffing challenges and a number of other things. So overall, more than a third of our 5-year strategic plan, which was adopted in November of 2022, is complete as of now. That does include a lot of firsts. First award eligible budget, first 5-year capital improvement program for the city, first public arts ordinance, first ever creation of a public arts commission. We secured grants for our first employee dedicated to fuels mitigation, road hardening, and reducing the risk of wildfire in the community. And that's just some of the firsts. If you want to see the rest, pages 12 through 36. One of the largest, the largest number you'll see in the report is $6,581,654, representing the amount of grant funds we received in 2023. We don't want to be reliant on grant funds. At the same time, they're force multipliers, right? And we don't want to get grants for grant's sake. We don't want to spend general fund money as a matching to a grant that we didn't need in the first place. But to address those goals and objectives from the strategic plan in our budget, it lets us address them quicker, better, and in a way that is more responsive to what the community's expectations are. Last year when we got $5.8 million in grants, I said you'll probably never see that number again. And so I'm going to say that again this year because I really think we won't see that number again.
Hold my beer. Hold my beer.
But we'll do our best.
I disagree.
The report is not suggest that we don't have room for improvement. We definitely do. Tonight, we were going to handle our values workshop. I think the strategic plan had us doing, or I'm sorry, the objectives from the budget had us doing that by September of last year. So there are times when we move the timeframes to accommodate priority items, and there's other times when we just miss the mark for whatever the reason is. But I think it's important to keep us on track and to report what we're doing so that that strategic plan it's not just something that we printed once and we're going to live with. It's a living document, and we can show what we did, where we did it, and things will change over time, and that's okay. Really, this report, the 36 pages and what I'm saying tonight, should be thought-provoking towards both our budget and our strategic planning process. So if, let's say, there was significant deficiencies in resources, funding, or accomplishments, then you might look to make adjustments in your mid-year budget to address those things to get us back on track. With our performance so far, I anticipate that mid-year will only be minor changes, no new allocations of general fund dollars, but we will anticipate allocation of some funds for the Commercial Street Softscape project, and some ARPA funds for fire activities, housing initiatives, and public art processes. So we do look forward to a bright 2024. I definitely would encourage everyone to read. If you don't want to read all 36 pages, just read the 2 pages that have all the names on it, and thank those people for what they did. But with that, I will leave it there, Madam Mayor, on our 2023 year in review.
Thank you so much. I'm looking for any public comment in the room.
Here we go.
Hi.
Good evening, City Council members. My name's Diana Gamzon. I live in Nevada City. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance. And reading through this report, it's so impressive what the city has done this past year. Kudos to you, Sean. You run a really great ship. And just looking at each of the objectives, I was at our objective setting workshop, whatever it was, a year ago. And to be able to see now, a year later, and all of the things that have been accomplished, and all of the grant funding, the $6.5 million, with 3 of them being from cannabis. It's really exceptional what we're doing in our little city here. So thank you, and thank you all for your leadership in approving these policies that are really helping our community in such significant ways. The Arts Commission this year, I mean, that's huge. I'm so excited to see the projects that come out of that. Thank you for your continued support of cannabis. Really looking forward to this upcoming year, and just the advances we'll make with cannabis policy that will usher in new business opportunities and new areas of economic growth. And thank you all so much.
Thanks,
Thank you, Diana. All right, any other public comment in the room or online, Gabby?
Nope.
All right, bringing this back to the table. What y'all got to say?
I just thought it was, I was blown away too. It's really great to see. It makes me feel like we actually did a lot.
We did do a lot.
But you guys did even more. We get the credit, you guys do the work.
And I don't think that's true.
I
have not worked with as many councils as Gary has, but they're
Overexperienced.
it is not common for councils to do comprehensive community-driven strategic planning. It's not common for them to translate that strategic plan into action that is accomplishable given the resource constraints that any organization would have. And it's not common for the council to be persistent and dedicated to showing up to the 17 committees that we have you assigned to effectuate that work. It's not. So we couldn't do it if you didn't provide that policy direction. So I definitely appreciate it. But to your point, yes, it is other people than me that actually do the work. Thankfully, some of them are in the room and watching at home, but it does start with the council, and I'm very appreciative of that. So.
Thank you so much. I feel particularly This feels like an important thing to have on this agenda because I just feel so exhausted after having so many assumptions and accusations and shame thrown at me tonight. To be reminded that we're getting shit done and we are community driven and we are making strides in the community and we do listen to our constituency and we do have people in mind. So I'm really grateful to city staff and all the people on those first 2 pages. And yeah, just to you, Sean. I mean, I think I tell you this all the time, you're the best. It's not hyperbole, you really are. You're the best, you're amazing, and I'm just so glad you're here.
I'm the best person sitting in this seat.
You sure are.
So, yeah, we're here to do the business of the city. That's what we're here to do. And we're demonstrating that we're very competent at that. This document is an amazing document. Yeah, all the things that people think we are, well, here's who we really are. Here it is. It's in this document, the things that we've done, the way we've stood up for our community, the way we've listened, the way we've adapted. But it really is an issue of leadership. And when I say leadership, yes, it's the council, yes, it's Sean, but it's Sean's style of distributed leadership. This leadership is distributed among the entire workforce. They understand the accountability. They understand the responsibilities that they have. That culture is what allows this to happen. And that culture is you, Mr. Sean. You understand that. In fact, I've used him on panels to talk to other people about cultures because he understands it so well. But that culture that empowers employees to make the right decisions, to do the work. I was working with another organization today, and the most important thing that they said, and one of the most important things I said, and this is so true, and I see it every day when I see our employees, we do the right thing whether anybody's watching or not. You know, we do it because it's the right thing to do. We know what it is. It's our jobs, and we do it. And that's why, from the bottom up. So what we've built here, all of us together, all those names together, is something that, Sean is right, it's very unique. It's very unique to have a council that works together as well as we do, though we have our differences. The reason that other councils struggle with strategic plans is it's a strategic plan trying to embody 5 agendas. Right, Dean? And we're not doing that. We're focused on our community and the direction and trying to do what's best for an entire community. And that is our challenge. And that's the hardest thing. And that's where we have to, I really believe that we have to stand on not creating further division, but building community. And we're doing, here's the evidence. And we're doing it. And so that's what I'd like us all to take home from this tonight, from this meeting tonight, is all of the good that we're doing for our community and doing it in a right way, in an honest way, a transparent way, and totally legitimate. Totally legitimate. So thank you, Sean. And it's a great report. I read every word of it a couple times, and it's great. So thanks.
Thanks, Gary. Lou?
I'm very glad that you pointed out the citizens who are contributing to this effort as well. I'm thinking of the Fire Safety Advisory Committee and also all the people who showed up to the committee meetings, like the business meeting where we discussed the lighting issues, and all the people who showed up for the Vibrancy Committee to help launch the Arts Council. We are doing a good job, but the citizens of the town are doing a great job too.
Yep. Great.
Anything else from the table? Great. All right. So I would like to recommend, I'd love a motion to receive the presentation, receive and file the report, and provide direction, which we've done. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll move.
And I'll second.
Excellent. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Stacy?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Fernandez?
Yes. Great. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. What do we do? Okay, so it is coming up on 9:30. We have one more agenda item that I believe we're going to table.
We're going to table that, and
Let's do visions.
Take a couple hours, hour and a half.
Can we bring those people back? they can help us.
Well, I mean, the irony is, had they stayed, they could have
It's too
helped
late to
us
know the
create
difference.
the vision.
Yes,
It's
yes.
too late to
And
know the
mission.
difference between
And our
visions and
values.
hallucinations tonight.
Right? So,
I think we'll talk about it, but Sean and I discussed it, checked in with Dean and with the mayor, and we'll probably try to do this in a special meeting. Just
great.
get
And
some
Dean,
time.
do we need a motion to
We'll
change
just
that?
indicate that the council pulled the item. Tabling has certain legal significance, so we're just going to pull it, and staff will add it to a
Okay.
future agenda item and notice it according to the Brown Act.
Great, we're definitely not tabling it.
That's what we're doing. We're
All
doing
right.
what Dean
Glad
said.
you're here, Dean.
Excellent, thank you.
Part of the team, part of the team. His name was on
Ooh,
the
Lord have mercy. All right, council member report backs. Does anybody dare? I'm just kidding, please.
Didn't Sean go first?
No. No. The mayor says, the mayor wants council member report
Easy.
backs.
No, it's been a long
This is what I
night.
want.
Someone bring the mayor her juice.
Yeah. How about a
Purple
juice box, Mayor?
Somebody bring me my purple juice and a nice tall glass with a stem.
Hey, we've got the Vibrancy and the Arts Commission meeting at the end of this month. That's exciting.
Great, when is it?
Inaugural, 31st?
It is the 31st.
31st
What
of
time is
this
it?
month.
5:30 p.m.
Where are we meeting?
Right here.
Excellent, I'll put it on my calendar.
And it's broadcast and everything.
Yes.
Oh, we're broadcasting.
Which
it.
meeting is
It
this?
a-
Commission.
it
Commission
is a
meetings get broadcast.
commission.
This is
It
the
is the
Art Commission?
inaugural Art Commission meeting. So
That is
we did a
big.
thing, look at that. Great, anything else? What else do people have?
Fire Safety Advisory Committee is meeting later this month on the, is it the
18th.
18th?
And I assume you're going to introduce the new employee or
He will be introducing himself on an agenda item at the next meeting.
at the next
that's
meeting?
him now.
Yeah.
But that's the new guy. He's a new fire.
New guy.
Yeah,
Does
he's
he have a name?
It is Evan.
His name is Evan.
Evan. Evan, say your last name. McClenathan. So, yeah.
Evan is amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, welcome aboard, right? I'm sorry, I'll never refer to recreational democracy again. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
One more thing is that I attended the Softscape workshop yesterday morning out in the drizzle as a business owner, and it was very well conducted. I want to congratulate and commend Lisa for the mock-up that she did of the individual boxes for the plants and the benches, which we then had fun moving around the street to see where they would fit. So,
Love it.
again, thanks to Lisa for doing that, and
She's amazing.
Thanks for doing it in the drizzle.
Yeah, in the drizzle. I was going to report, I attended the, Pioneer Energy Audit Committee. So,
What did you attend?
the Pioneer Energy Audit, I'm on the Budget Committee, and they just did an audit, and I mean, their processes are amazing. This is an audit of a $221 million budget, completely clean. Which when they first told me that, I took issue with that because I always felt like government audit people are like termite inspectors. If they don't find something, they're not doing their job. But then they explained the detailed processes that they use for moving money around and stuff. And what I wanted to say about it is I sort of understand it. It's a big one, but we're in very good hands economically and financially. And there are a lot more rolling out as of this week. They are our energy provider. We'll be hearing a lot more from them. And the other thing that they reported, and this is really interesting, is because you have the opt-out. You don't have to do it. Nevada City has the lowest opt-out number they've ever seen. We're at over 99% of the people. And like over in El Dorado County, they're at 86%. And it's like, okay, I want to opt out because I want to pay PG&E more money for my electricity. I don't get it. But so we're a
Shows
model.
you our community,
And
yeah.
and we're in very good hands. So I'll just leave it at that and report that.
Excellent, thank you, Gary. What about the other side of the table?
Yeah, I got nothing.
I don't do anything in this community, so I'm looking for a motion and a second to adjourn this piece.
No city manager report?
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
Dean's already out the door.
He's already out the door.
I'll be fast.
I don't want to hear it from you,
Oh, it's Sean.
I'm just really fried.
All community stuff, City Hall's closed next Monday, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it's a federal holiday. Next week, the mayor and I will be presenting at the Board of Supervisors Workshop, State of the City.
Can others attend that?
Absolutely,
Y'all go
yep.
for that? Yeah.
That's a Brown Act exception, attending another meeting, you just can't caucus together on city items. Grass Valley and Truckee will also be presenting, it's a public meeting at Gold Miners Inn, starts at 10, that item starts at 10:50 a.m. that day. Next Wednesday. Our next city council meeting is January 24th at 6:30 p.m. Immediately preceding that is a public meeting of the Nevada City, at the Nevada City Courthouse, where the judicial council will share information on the process to acquire land for the new courthouse. So we definitely encourage
Are they
anyone
going to share that
to
they
attend.
haven't made a decision?
They will share and kind of how the measurement and how they
Let me know about January.
create their own process. So starts at 4:30 at the courthouse.
That's going to be a big meeting.
Awesome. Anything else? Great. Now I'm looking for a motion to quit this piece.
Please let me out of
I
here.
move that we quit this piece.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Awesome. All those in favor? Aye.
Good meeting.
Motion
Holy
carries.
cow.
Everybody leave.
I won't take